You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Hello, welcome to a brand new episode of the M.T.V.B. Podcast, the podcast that talks about my four favourite subjects as movies, TV shows, video games and board games. I'm your host Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Ant-Man, and welcome to October, guys. It's Spooktacular season! For those of you that don't normally join us, every October we do a Halloween season because we love our horror movies here at M.T.V.B. and we talk about a certain franchise and go through all the sequels and stuff. This episode we're going to be talking about the Hellraiser series, and I'm joined by a bunch of guys that love to talk about Hellraiser movies. Introduce yourselves around the table, please.
Hello guys, it's JK47.
Hello, it's Dave,
Hey.
a.k.a. Dave to some and Ants to others.
Ooh! Gets better every time, and a nice Spooktacular one there as well. So I love it.
Themed.
It's nice how G's like, oh, I can't be following that now, innit?
Well, if he was here, he would be saying that.
If he was here, what a loser.
What a loser, mate.
Rest in
I
peace.
don't do horror films, do I?
It's too scary.
Too scary.
So guys, welcome, Spooktacular.
Yes.
We're here. And finally we got you back. A year later, you're here. You're here, Dave.
I love Spooktacular season.
Yeah.
But do you love Hellraiser movies as well?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
That's why I wanted to choose this one.
We saved this a whole year for you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Waited a while.
So yeah, Hellraiser movies. Let's talk about your history with them. How did you come across the movies themselves? Was the first one you watched, or just how did you come about it at all?
Well, for me, I'll start off. I came in really late to Hellraiser.
Okay, how late?
I was probably, we're probably only talking about 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know, it just seemed to miss me. Like, I watched, like Halloween and all the other sort of classics, but I just never really got around to watching Hellraiser.
Right.
I can't remember who it was that said, oh, you should try Hellraiser, you'd really like that.
Okay.
But and then I was like, because I knew of Pinhead.
Sure.
Because he's, I mentioned it to you the other day, but we had a carnival this summer,
Right.
fun fair.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And in the crappy haunted ghost train that there is always there, emblazoned in 10 foot high was Pinhead.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. I mean, he was probably, like I said to you, he's probably legally...
You're like, this is so metal.
legally distinct. He was probably, what did you say? Needlehead.
Needlehead.
Just so they don't get sued. But, he's so iconic that I was aware of the Hellraiser franchise without actually really knowing the story. Like, I knew of the character because they pop up, there's references in other stuff. There's even like in Rick and Morty for Rant, there's they have like their version of the Cenobites, don't they?
I don't know. I mean,
in Rick and Morty, he's Rick talking to these Cenobites that are all like got stationary like compasses stuck in their head and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So you see,
It's a subtle nod.
you see like references in pop culture. So I was aware of it, and it was just really nice to be able to go, right, okay, let's, I'm going to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. Let's just dive into the whole franchise.
Okay.
So I started from one.
So you did start from, I was going to say.
Started from one, went from one, went through, and then obviously watched the remake, or the reboot, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
It was 2022.
2020.
Well, yeah, last year, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then was waiting for that to come out. So then I had that excitement of, there's going to be a new instalment. After a few ropey ones.
Yes.
I was hoping it was going to be good, so...
There's 11.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah. Like I say, watched them from beginning through, and then we had that reboot. And that was me.
Nice. John, how'd you get into him? I mean, you could have seen him at the cinema.
I did.
Did ya?
I read the book first. The book's called Hellbound Heart.
Hellbound Heart, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the
Heart,
first,
is it?
Clive
Yeah.
Barker.
the first
Which is
movie.
what Hellraiser was. The movie was going to be called originally, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was going to be named after the book, and then they changed it.
They changed it.
But sorry, John. Yeah. So how did you?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously, I'm older than. I'm very old.
I'm older and wiser than everyone
My
here.
Zimmer frame's in the corner. No, seriously,
Here's
I
our
used-
sage spirit.
Yeah,
here.
I used to collect books, so I had things like Stephen King, Clive Barker, Dean Kuntz, all them people, So I had a lot of Clive Barker's books, so I had read Hellbound Heart. So when I heard they were making a film on it, I thought, this could be quite interesting, because the book was quite good. So so I followed it through. I haven't watched. There's 11 films apparently. I literally found that out today when I was doing some research for these. But I've seen these 3.
Yeah, I've only got 8
And I
marks
saw the
down,
new.
but yeah, there are a few.
I saw the new one. I've seen the new one like recently or 6 months ago, whenever it was. But I haven't seen, as far as I'm aware, anyway. I haven't seen all the others. I might have seen 1 or 2 of them, but I can't remember them, to be honest.
No,
because we're talking 40 years ago, virtually.
Yes, yeah.
So, or near enough anyway. Because was it 87, the first film, wasn't it?
So how did you come across? So you said
I read
you saw it in
book.
cinema?
Yeah, I read the book, saw it in cinema.
Wow. So 1987, you were there.
1987, yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Good film. I enjoyed it.
And did you like it then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you watch it today, and at the time, I thought it was really, really good. The effects aren't exactly great, but that's not
Oh,
my...
that's a controversial.
Fuck you.
We'll go into that later.
No, at the time, I thought they were good. You look back on it now, and you think... but it's not about the effects. It's about the story. And it was cheaply made. It made more than it cost in the box office, so therefore it was a hit. And it's done quite well, and it's become a cult classic ever since. And people I mean, if ever...
Well, like Dave said, the character alone's the
Oh
cult
yeah,
classic,
I mean,
isn't
all
it?
these years later, if you mention Pinhead to anyone, they go, "Oh yeah, that's the guy from Hellraiser." They people will know.
Yeah.
And even if they know nothing about the story of
No,
Hellraiser,
they'll know
they
who
will
they'll know Pinhead.
Yeah.
And if they can't remember what his name is, they'll recognise the picture of him.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
So-
that's that guy with all the nails.
Yeah,
So
the
it
nails
used to be
in his
just a
head.
picture of his head, wasn't
Yeah,
it? And it'd be
yeah.
like on the front cover of the VHS or something.
So
wouldn't it?
he's kind of like stuck through time, shall we say? It's one of the to me one of the greats of the horror movie genre. There are obviously better, but I like all of them.
Controversial.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, we'll go into it.
John, interesting. Were you excited that it was Clive Barker, the first one, directing?
Yes. He didn't do the second one, but he did the third one. Yeah.
The only one he did was
Oh,
the
yeah.
first one, yeah.
Yeah.
But were you excited knowing that sort of horror pedigree was at the helm?
But plus,
Yeah.
you said you're a bit of a book collector.
Yeah. I used to be. I don't
One
have
of
many
the
more,
marketing lines for this film was when Stephen King quoted,
Yeah.
"I've seen the future of horror," and his
Yeah.
name's Clive Barker.
Clive
Did that
Barker.
get you like?
Oh yeah.
In '87,
Yeah.
did that get you pumped?
Oh,
for,
hell yeah.
To go there. I like that.
Yeah.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
hell
I like
yeah.
I like that. Nice twist, mate. I see what you did there.
Yeah. No, that was. I mean, I thought that was a really good nod, and for it to come from such an established author as Stephen King, I thought there's got to be
Well, Stephen King's like
something to this.
He's
He's
like
like the granddaddy of horror, as far as
horror
I'm concerned.
fiction, yeah,
You know.
of like written horror. Yeah,
It's probably the only quote where he actually did follow through with, "Yes, that's actually right."
yeah.
I'll go into mine very quickly. I saw this so basically my parents had got Sky, and number 3 was coming out soon onto Sky Movies. So the weekend before, they played 1 and 2 in one night,
yeah.
and then the weekend after, you'd see
got
the
the
premiere
new
of
film,
number
which was
3.
three,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I had a mate who'd come over who'd I'd never heard of it, and he sort of slept over, and he looked through the old Sky TV guide or whatever it was, the old magazines you'd have. It's like, oh wow, Hellraiser's on tonight, and part 2's on straight afterwards. I'm like, what is Hellraiser? And he explained the whole Pinhead thing and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, I mean, I watched horror films, but I knew what he was, but I never really understood what the film was like or about or what I was expecting. Just knew it was horror, full stop.
Yeah.
So I asked my mum and dad, can we watch it? And they were like, no. Straight out, no, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And you know when you beg, you're like, Mum, please, don't embarrass me in front of such and such. You're staying over tonight. You want to watch it? Come on,
It's not that bad.
not that bad.
Yeah, it's not too gory.
So I kid you not, right? So 10 o'clock it started. The first one started at 10 o'clock Saturday night. And within 15 minutes of me and my mate watching it, he's passed out. He's fell asleep. So he's left me to watch these 2 horror movies all on my own.
Yeah.
And kind of scarred me for a little while. But grew to love them. which leads to my next question is, Dave, you said you really like them. What is it about them you really like? I mean, is it because it's different from other horror films, or is it the style of it, or...
I was thinking about this more analytically because I knew this was coming up, and I was getting ready for Spooktacular.
Yeah, I love it when he says it.
Spooktacular.
Yeah, so I was thinking, what do I like about this? There's some really good gore and practical effects, I think, in this.
Yeah,
I know what John just said.
No,
but
they
I
are
like
good.
I like a good old like demon hell story.
Okay,
so like things like Constantine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not horror.
So stuff where hell's involved, basically.
I do like a good, because I think there's a lot of sort of psycho killers. Not that that's a bad part of the genre.
No.
And I enjoy them for their reasons, but I've always got a place in my black heart for like a good demon, devil,
a good
S&M.
hellbound story.
Hellbound story. So, and I was thinking, we'll go into it a bit more, but like, for example, in the third one, you've got that devil's bargain, that temptation, isn't it?
Right.
So it's almost going back to like one of the oldest stories, the Bible, of the snake tempting Eve with the forbidden fruit.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what, traditionally devils and demons try to do, isn't it? They try to lure mortals with promises of dark pleasures and, things like that they... And sights and things that you've never experienced before. And it has that temptation.
I love how your Doug Bradley kicks in every so often.
Good.
Well, you can't help it, can you? So, like I say, that's why I like that. But also, I like the fact that you're getting a bit more bang for your buck with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that there's different types. We're looking at the first three, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
And then we're going to touch on the reboot, the newest one. Not because that's like there's a selection of some that aren't that good later on after that, but we like
good
those.
selection.
We like those the most.
We'll stick to the original trilogy,
Original trilogy, and but within, for example, the original trilogy, you're getting three very different style of stories.
Yes.
So it's not the same thing being redone. It's not like this killer's got away or this monster's escaped and it's killing people. You've kind of got like a different story each time, but also. It's not just one villain. It's not just Pinhead.
Yeah.
You've got the Cenobites, haven't you?
Yes.
So you've got all these interesting different characters, which each one on their own has it. You feel like it's got its own little reason because they're designed to be different, aren't they?
Yes.
So
not one's the same.
No one is the same. They all have maybe hints at what they're created or why they were created, things like that. So. That's what I like about that. So you haven't just got Pinhead. And it's not relied on just Pinhead being scary, say, in the first movie, because you've got the appearance of other characters, like the Chatterer and Butterball. And is it the Whisperer or something? The woman with the throat pinned open. So, And the stories are quite well told.
Yes.
I was talking about the first one recently, wasn't I? And I was making my argument that it's essentially a vampire movie.
It was your little theory, wasn't it?
That was my little argument. Well, if you take vampire in the loosest description of the term, one being sucking the life energy out of another, that's what Frank's doing, isn't it?
It doesn't have to be blood, does it? Yeah.
Frank is literally draining people.
But we'll go into it.
We'll go into it. Anyway, sorry, I'm skipping ahead.
Well, what about you, John? What is it about this Hellraiser series you like?
I like the fact that, like I said before, I
like it.
I like it, yeah. There's a real element to it.
It's bloody
the real
boring.
guy, Elliot Spencer. It's all and how he finds the box and becomes Pinhead. And it's because the first film is literally all about the pleasures and pain. And when all three, I suppose, are pleasure and pain, but it's in different contexts and things. But it's like. Dave said there is an element of vampirism to it but it's not just about blood. It's like you say, he sucks the life out of these people to become who he wants to become. I love the story as works through all three about Pinhead, how he became Pinhead, and so on. But I didn't, like I say, I read the books and I was really interested in the books.
How close is it to the books, though?
The first one is quite close,
right?
But they did change certain things. But it's like Clive Barker. See, the first film, it looks like it's set in England.
The first two are set in Remains.
They're only filmed in England. Clive Barker has said himself that he...
That's what I say, they filmed it in England, but they tried to make it American, didn't they?
Well, the first film, they make it look like they're in England because Larry says to Julia, we're on your turf now.
Yeah.
But allegedly they're not. It's meant to be New York.
Right.
And Clive Barker was asked about this at a show, and he basically said he left it open, but he was trying
it's
to get
blatantly London, though, isn't it, when you look at it?
I mean, if you're local to the UK, then that house looks like a...
Exactly, but then you see the second one, and it's American police officers.
You're going off topic now. I'm just asking why you like it. You're throwing in facts when we should be talking about that in a minute.
We'll come to in a minute.
Yeah.
Bring him back on target.
I just like I like films based on books that I've read that I've enjoyed. So I'm hoping, and especially because I knew Clive Barker had an interest in, he was a producer or whatever, the first one. I thought could be quite good because he wrote the book. It should be fairly accurate and that. And that's, a lot of the time it's the story. A lot of the time it's down to the book it's the film's based on, and especially, like I say, if the author has a vested interest in making the film as well.
Nice.
What about you?
Simply why I questioned you was the fact it was different from other horror films at the time.
Yeah.
So when Stephen King put that quote out and I've seen the future of horror, it goes to show why.
Yeah.
Because it was completely different from everything in the 80s. 80s had a massive slasher thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dave said earlier. So just to have something that different and stand out and be this, small, low budget, movie that just ended up raking in so much money and became a cult classic with VHS and stuff. I just really, really like that. But we'll go into the other reasons why I like it when we talk about the films as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But horror meant something different, I think, before Hellraiser, because horror was usually something like vampires or Frankenstein, Wolfman, that type of a thing. And then this comes along and it's nothing related whatsoever to any of that. So to suddenly get a horror film that is different, for me, it was quite interesting. So
yeah, nice. So shall we start from the top then?
Yeah.
Let's go to do it. And Hellraiser 1, 1987.
Mm-hmm.
Or not Hellbound Heart, was it? So
no.
What did you like? Come on, John, throw some facts. Throw some... Did you knows? We know it's gory.
I was waiting for that. I'm waiting for that one to come out.
So yeah, come on, number one.
Let me find.
So like I said, number one, that's a very different story. There's the Cenobites aren't even really the main sort of issue in that, are they?
Yeah. So this is what I was going to go into. The story itself isn't really about
the Cenobites, but I don't think it suffers from it.
No,
because it's effectively it's the story about forbidden desire, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're introduced to that sort of concept because Frank is a dark...
That's how we start the movie, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a dark explorer, isn't he? He's
Yes.
looking for the seedy, the sordid, the excess of pain and pleasure and things like that. And that's how he gets put onto the box.
With the opening line of...
What's your pleasure, sir?
Oh, I love that line.
I mean, that's great. And it's the closing line, isn't it? Doesn't it end up back...
At the end of number two, at the end of number two.
No, it's the end of one, because doesn't the dragon fly...
It doesn't say what's your pleasure. Oh, no, you're right, it does.
He does.
No, you're right, it does. It goes back to where it's in Tunisia or something, or whatever, isn't it? Yeah,
Morocco or something like that.
Your pleasure, sir.
That's it.
So, yeah, and it
It's in
introduces
India.
you...
Apparently it's in India. I thought
India.
Morocco as well.
But it introduces you to that sort of theme and the fact that there is this other realm, this hell, with these beings from it that inhabit it, that are sort of willing to take souls that open it.
And then we get the whole scene where Frank opens the box and those chains pop out and then just starts ripping them apart.
And that's just, I know that's a very simple thing because it's like close-up shots of the hooks going into like the hand, isn't it? And
tearing the skin off. Yeah, and stuff,
you could argue nowadays that looks a bit dated, but it's still blooming.
I think it still holds up.
Still holds up. It's still quite gory, isn't it?
I think there's a couple scenes we talked about.
Yeah, that don't hold up.
That don't, but we'll obviously talk about it in a second.
Yeah. But yeah, then it's obviously. And then it moves on to the main sort of characters, because Frank's disappeared, hasn't he? And
Frank's been ripped apart, hasn't he? And then we get a hint at the Cenobites. We don't really know what they are.
There's a really good shot where the female Cenobite, who is... I'm not sure if she's got a name.
And we see Pinhead pick it up and seals the box, doesn't he? After Frank's been
she's
mullered.
like, Frank's face is in pieces on the floor after having been written up.
Yeah.
And it's like a weird scene because she's like putting the pieces back together.
That's
it's
right.
Like a weird jigsaw puzzle. But I just want to mention here what I really like about the original trilogy is that sort of weird realm and the way that it was done, because you got that. It's like a room, isn't it? It's like a.
It's just in a room in that house, isn't it? Yeah.
Sort of attic style room. Yeah. But you've got the pillar spinning, haven't you?
Yeah. What's all that about?
Clonking. Yeah. It's just like a torture pillar, it seems.
Yeah.
Or there's
a name for it in the third film.
I can't remember. But we'll go.
We'll go back
there.
to and that's spinning. It's got all sorts of bits of people pinned to it and things like that.
Hooks and.
But then
penises.
As there is.
But
you've got like the chains hanging. So
I think Clive Barker was saying something then.
So you've got like there's just the clonk of that thing turning and the chains rattling. It's quite an.
But they're everywhere, aren't they? The chains.
They're all hanging everywhere. Yeah,
the sound is.
It's a really good atmospheric open that leaves you thinking, what the hell is this going on, kind of thing. And it's also a very horror environment. It's a very good horror environment. So and then that's the introduction to that sort of the Cenobites, and then it goes back to the main.
It's when Larry and Julia move in, isn't it?
Yes, Larry and Julia move
into the not so American house.
Yeah, that looks supposed to be.
It's not
It's clearly London, dude, isn't it? Come on. There's a scene where she's like walking on the docks of London, and it's like.
No, that's the daughter.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the daughter Kirsty, it's such a cool shot where the camera's looking up and it goes underneath those like crane sort of thing. And it's
but doesn't it? But that gives you a suggestive tone.
It
does. I think so because before that you have Frank and his delving into the pleasures of lust, shall we say? So I think things like that are predominant through the film, especially when you see her walk through the Docklands. Why else would you have the camera facing up?
Yeah,
and walk through, and the camera legs look like open legs.
I think John Lee's onto something because stylistically, you've got those, the dock cranes, and it does look a little bit like almost legs.
Yeah.
Industrial sort of legs. And it is that is quite a voyeuristic shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you want to really look into it and analyse it. Because in cinema or TV, you wouldn't see a shot of up like that on something, would you? Very rarely.
And it's not in the second
unless you're
or
watching
third
certain
films.
Weird Japanese.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And it's not in the second or third film. It's only in that first one. And your introduction, like we'll say, to the box, which is the Lament configuration.
It's in the Lament configuration.
Yeah, it's through Frank trying to explore the pleasures of pain through lust, because he, the type of person that he is. So that theme kind of like runs through it all. You kind of get the impression that this Frank was a little bit more than, it's like, especially when you find out that Julia's had an affair with him, because that kind of comes through, and then that also makes you think, what did he try it on with the daughter? Well, because he says to her a couple of times, "Come to daddy," know. It kind of gives you that little tone, and it doesn't imply anything, but. When you look at the rest of the film as a whole, you kind of think...
He's just
he's a bit of a perv.
He's a depraved,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when she finds those pictures of him, and you can tell he's a bit of a...
He's a bit of a dodgy character. But she likes that. She's quite an interesting character, isn't she?
Who, Julia?
Julia, yeah.
So Julia is Larry's wife, right?
Yes.
So he's the American, married a British woman.
Yeah, that's it.
And they moved, and they bought a house, right?
Yeah,
which is the house that Frank's just been killed in, right?
Yeah.
Or isn't it? Are they going back to an old house that the family own? I can't remember.
So the house, it's a house the family owned.
Anyway, they go back to the house, and she finds that
the mattress
Frank had a little den there.
Yeah. He was squatting there or something.
He was squatting in there, and she finds all the pictures that he'd taken of her, and
in the box,
sort of. And she has memories of her.
I think some of the pictures were of other women as well.
That's what I say. Yeah, they were.
Not just her.
She gets sort of jealous about it.
Oh, she's like. She obviously wanted him. She liked that. Yeah. That just shows in her that she had that dark side that because she doesn't take much pushing, does she?
No,
that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
she does not take much pushing to flip over.
She's so into Frank,
to
it's unreal, yeah.
to push over to doing some evil acts, isn't it? Because she's an interesting character. I do really like her character because she's sort of enthralled to Frank throughout this.
Yeah.
But then she almost takes on more than him, doesn't she?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Particularly in the second one, which we'll move on to.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so yeah, basically they're just going into this house. She's trying to obviously hide from her husband that she'd had a thing with his brother.
Yeah.
And he's trying to lift a mattress up the stairs, isn't he?
So we're in the moving in phase, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Do you know,
moving in.
I always close my eyes on this bit.
I mean, like, that's really bad position. Like, how is that nailed that badly out? And it's all rusted as well, which just makes me cringe a bit.
Yeah.
And the two guys
must
who are
admit,
like lifting the bed up and like,
the same.
hey lady, what?
Yeah.
What? Go,
And his daughter comes in, Kirsty comes in.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They're a bit
She's like, she's my daughter.
yeah. And yeah, he cuts his hand. Turns out,
But it's nasty.
Oh, yeah,
it is a brutal cut.
you see it. Yeah, he gouges like the back of his hand. Actually,
but that seems really cut well because because Julie's thinking about Frank making love to her and stuff, and how
she's getting turned on,
pushed with the mattress getting pushed. She's getting thrusted and
it's,
whatnot, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Edited quite well.
It's good editing. Good
That's what I mean
cinema
about the tone that runs through it. You know?
Well, it's always blurring violence and gore with sex and lust and desire, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which like you pointed out is a very good example of. So she then goes up and he's really bad with blood, isn't he, Larry?
Yeah, he's like me.
Yeah, he's like,
so I can't look at it.
He's going to pass out.
He stumbles into the room, doesn't he?
And blood drops on the floor, doesn't it?
Blood drops in the attic floor.
This is the same room where Frank died, right?
This is the same room where Frank opened the box and the chains ripped him.
But the box isn't in or anything, is it?
No.
I think it is in a corner somewhere.
No, because Pinhead takes it back. He locks it, doesn't he? And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And this is one of my all-time favourite scenes in horror. Is you've got where Frank regrows from the blood.
Yeah, you see the heart beating under the.
So
you start off with the heart,
and the blood's gone on the floor, but it's sort of sinked into the wall, the flooring, doesn't it? Yeah.
And on a slightly sideline, there's always insects and vermin in these films as well.
Yeah.
Yes, but they never do anything about it, do they?
I don't know whether this is a comment on seediness,
right.
dirty, sordid. That's up to speculation, I suppose, and he's addressed it somewhere, which I haven't found. Because you've got the rats cowering while he's regrowing, haven't you?
That's right.
Keeps cutting to shots of rats cowering, like squeaking, which may be just to be put in there to make it more terrifying for people who are scared of rats, or that's quite a common phobia. But yeah, you've got this regrown, and I know you were slating some of the effects, but that.
But no,
the regrown of Frank,
the regrown of Frank, even I think is. See, nowadays...
I love that shot.
Nowadays, if they did that, it would be done CG.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't think I would be grossed out by
it's
it
all
as much.
It's all latex and red goo. Do you know what I mean? And it's... it was good at the time.
Even now, I think it creeps me out now because I'm desensitised in a little way to like CGI gore because I know it's not real.
Yeah.
Whereas when you see that, you know it's real and it's slimy, it's grim...
Yeah. So it's literally parts of his body coming back together
from goo. And I think they did some really clever stuff where they built a gunge model and then melted it and then they film it in reverse.
Right. So it looks like it's grown back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it is just grim. It really unsettles me. It's one of the things that creeps me out because it's... And there's a lovely shot where he's like a weird... Like his arms are coming up. And it's
can never tell because like two things come up
and they're
like, what is it?
I think they're his arms.
They're just but you can't tell the first bit, can you?
You can't tell that weird.
And his brain's detached and
that's it.
Pushes himself to the brain. The brain then becomes the head.
And then the spine comes up and everything.
It's a fantastic physical effect of body horror.
For the time and the money they had, it's so good.
Even now, I still think that holds up because I do.
100%. I totally agree with that.
So again, this is one of the reasons I love these movies. And like I say, I think if you redone it and they'd rebooted it and done the same story and done that with CGI, I would be like, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not real. You know
that people haven't put time and effort in for it either, have you? Just some AI's created
I think there's this level of detachment these days where we see and we can identify CGI as a viewer or stuff, and it's not real. Whereas when you see practical effects like that,
that's movie making.
It connects with you because you're like, oh my God, that's real.
Yeah.
Even though you know it's not real, it's not happening.
Sure, yeah.
So another example to try and argue my point would be, for example, like practical stunt effects.
Yes.
So you know when they do CGI stunts and you see someone fly through something, it's like, okay. But you know somewhere inside you, you're not thinking about it. Yeah. It's not real, no danger. But then you watch something like Mad Max Fury Road, for example, where they've done the stunts themselves, and you see a guy flinging and jumping onto something, flinging off of a big bendy pole, and you think, oh, they've done that.
Yeah,
someone's put themselves at risk. It just seems. Yeah.
More real.
Anyway, that's what I'm arguing.
No, it's absolutely.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So it's a bit weird when John was like, I don't like.
No, I didn't say I didn't like it. I'm just saying.
Are you talking about the later ones, or
no?
In the series?
What I'm saying is, I watched one yesterday, first one yesterday, and 2 and 3 today, and watching them again now, having watched so many other films since, shall we say, the effects don't look as good, but that is what I think makes the film. It's like what Dave just said. You know what I mean? You can see the effort that was put into putting that together. You can obviously see that it's latex, it's not real skin, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
It's the level of detail they put into it all. Whereas today, like you say, you put all on a computer, boom, and it looks real, but a computer's doing it.
But anyway, so like I say, that's one of my favourite scenes of all horrors because I like it. It's so grim, it's so gross.
Yeah.
It's really
it proper shocked me when I first watched it because I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm grossed out at the same time. And then when like John said it, all the brain hits and it connects, I was like, what is going on? What is happening? And then that little puppet comes out, goes and but the shot of it when it raises up and you've got the window over the light coming in and stuff, it is a fantastic piece of filmmaking. I cannot deny how really good that is.
This is the future of horror.
Yes, absolutely.
And then it doesn't stop because it goes on to we have Frank in his first sort of form.
So he's not he's not fully formed.
He's not even like the muscle.
Takes 3 or 4.
I don't think his legs have even been created, have they?
He's dragging himself around the floor and he's got this weird white sicky fatty gunge face, hasn't he? Which again is a really good practical makeup.
Yeah, because obviously later in the film Julia still thinks about it and she goes back in the room and then she sees Frank and she's like obviously disgusted, horrified, whatnot, and he's like, help me, please God help me.
He's like, don't look at me.
But so Frank was played by 2 actors in this, wasn't he? So you had Sean Chapman, who was the human version of him, who had to be dubbed because he had an English accent.
They dubbed a lot of it
to try and make him American because it was New World Cinema or something, and they had to obviously give it to American audiences, so everything had to be Americanized, wasn't it? But then when it was full makeup, because I believe Sean Chapman had to go do another movie or something, another actor called Oliver Smith had to be him in the makeup, wasn't it? And was the voice of Frank as well.
And that voice, he could have been like a Cenobite on his own because that voice, he's got such a good voice for that.
Absolutely.
Just Julia, don't look at me, Julia.
And you can see how mortified she is, but she's like, do I help him? How do I help him? What have I got to do?
She's confronted by a guy who's just who's like some flesh monster, like flayed man. And he's like, you need to bring me people, Julia. Bring me, and
again, I can be whole again.
Because this is together. And she's like, okay.
But this is kind of like at night time now, isn't it? And the way it's shot again for him is just because he's kind of.
You see
he's looking away, but he's kind of looking at her at the same time.
And he's hiding behind things, so half his face is in shadow. It's really good horror.
And there's a part where he hears someone come upstairs, and there's this shot where he looks for a crack, and he's like, someone's coming. And it's like, oh, that just gave me shivers when I was a kid watching that movie.
But this is what I mean. This is like a separate story to the Cenobites.
Yes, and this is the main story.
This is the main story in this one, which is completely different from the second and the third. And like I say, I love.
I'm going to watch a movie about Pinhead, and now I'm watching a movie about these two people.
I was fully into it.
No, exactly.
What I like about it is it's a killer dynamic. It's the two people sort of fueling each other in their lust and thingy, which you see in real world. Yeah. So a lot of good horror takes elements from real world, as we've talked about before, with Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, Leatherface, things like that. And you've got some horrible example of real life killers who fueled each other. So Fred and Rose West, for example,
Yeah.
and things like that. And you have this dynamic here.
Yeah.
Because she flips over to this to.
She's repulsed by him.
She's repulsed.
Thinking, oh
She
my
wants
God.
her, she wants her man back, doesn't she?
Only shortly,
essentially?
Yeah.
and then she's full in. She's bringing dudes.
Yeah,
She's the Black Widow. She's taking dudes in from
Sort of seduces them to bring them home.
Seduces them, brings them in. They think they're going to get their own way. Why that she's like, oh, just come up into this weird, creepy, disgusting attic with
Let's
no
go
bed,
upstairs.
and they walk in and they like, okay, I'll take my trousers off.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'll be like, what, in this murder attic?
Yeah, because
No,
one of them
I'm just
says
going
to
to
her,
leave.
"Oh, we're not going to go to the bedroom." She
Yeah.
goes, "Well, I don't always like doing it on a bed."
I know,
and
but
they're going
in a
"Oh, yeah,
disgusting,
okay, that makes sense.
in a
Really?
disgusting tetanus-ridden
Yeah,
rat
yeah,
feces. Oh yeah, that's my
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
No, anyway, that's the difference. So yeah, you go, and Frank slowly regrows, and then you get the lovely, again, really good horror body with he's got all the muscle and the
Yeah,
flayed.
yeah.
So it's like his body
And he
coming
can
back in
walk-
layers,
yeah,
isn't
in
it?
layers, yeah. So he's got all these. He's like a flayed man, then, isn't he?
But the makeup on that
And
suit
he's
is,
always-
is
yeah.
amazing.
Have you seen? He's always so drippy as well.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
again, it's that ick factor because you
Yeah.
know it's real.
No matter what clothes he puts on, they're just covered.
They
in
get
this
soaked
blood
through,
or
yeah.
goo.
But he's so glistening, and I like that they went and made that effort because they could have
Yeah.
just done a suit and it would have looked latex.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
the fact that it's wet and you're, and then again that's triggering your mind because you
Yeah.
know
the makeup
things like
department
burns
is amazing.
and when
Yeah.
you get like
Yeah.
the pus that comes out and things
Yeah.
like that. It's all that
It's all there. Yeah.
body horror.
it's
So
slowly the muscles growing
yeah.
over the skeleton,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like when you can see the back of his head, his skull's not fully covered and
not
stuff.
fully
Yeah.
covered. Yeah,
It's like when he kisses Julie, because they have that
Yes,
kiss
they
don't they,
do, yeah.
before all his skin is on him.
Yeah.
And when they
doesn't
they
he
pull
say
apart,
something like
it's
"I want to taste you" or something?
Yeah.
She ends up with like bits of like
Yeah, blood on
the
his-
white
yeah.
goo, white stuff and blood on her mouth, and you think it's not just blood.
She's
there.
fucking full bad there, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
She's gone over to the dark side.
But I love how like a couple of drops of it brings half his body back, and then it takes like 4 or 5 dudes to
Yeah.
nearly
Yeah.
bring him back to full form. It's just,
Maybe it was because it was his familial blood.
maybe,
I don't know.
maybe.
Anyway, so we're trying not to like completely just retell the story and things.
Yeah,
We're just trying to-
yeah.
So we skip forwards, and then the Larry's daughter gets involved, doesn't she?
Yes, Kirsty. Yes.
Kirsty, and she's met a bloke, hasn't she? Some random guy.
Yeah, Steve.
And she finds Frank, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. Yes,
She
yes, because somehow Frank has the box as well, doesn't he?
yeah, I think
Because doesn't he say to it?
I think that- I
tell
think-
Julia, doesn't he?
Pinhead never took the box.
I don't.
He
think
just
Pinhead
closes
took-
it, doesn't he?
I think it was
He
still
just
in the
closes
attic
it. Yeah,
room,
he does. Yeah,
The box
You're
is
right.
in the room in the corner.
That's right. Yeah.
and she's sort of disgusted and terrified by him, isn't she? And he's trying at that point. He's trying to look.
she
for
runs
skin.
away, obviously,
Yeah,
doesn't she?
she's
Yeah.
running away. There's some also overlooked by everything else. All the bodies have been left in the cupboards and the
storage.
Yeah, she puts him in a different room and stuff, doesn't she?
in a
Yeah,
room
yeah.
across the hall from the attic, and
Yeah.
at one point she's running in there and she looks in and there's just like the most maggot-ridden
Oh,
body,
God, yeah.
just like tons of maggots. Like, could you have that many maggots on a body? I don't know. Thankfully, it's
Right.
not something in my knowledge.
But
And
she ends up
that's
in a
really
hospital or something, didn't she?
no, that's sort of near the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, because that's when she first
Oh,
sees
yes.
the Cenobites, isn't it?
So yeah, she gets put in like a
That's in the
is
second
it a
one, isn't it?
mental hospital?
I think it's just a hospital in this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
She's fallen over. I can't remember now. But anyway, this is when we get the reveal of Pinhead himself and the Cenobites, isn't it? Because she's figured out how to open the box or something,
Yeah.
isn't it? And this is when we get our first shot of.
Yeah, because the wall. I like the way the wall comes apart, doesn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, she's seeing all the like the hospital wall move back, doesn't it? And it opens up, and you see the tunnels of the hell realm from the Cenobites. And yeah, in there somewhere, that's where you get the bad special effects, which I think John might have been referring to, which is you told me is the engineer.
But the engineer,
engineer.
yeah, they're pushing the trolley.
Yes.
You can see the
Yeah.
wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a
Just this,
It's like a creature that
It's a brief
pulls along the
second,
wall,
it's like
isn't
a
it?
flesh.
scorpion thing. With
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
so
again, it's just really. Again, that is the one special effect that I would say just really doesn't.
That's
hold
the
up.
one that's
but it's very
gone out.
brief. It's
It come-
literally a second.
And then there's another
At that
part
point
later.
it is. We'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah.
At that point, it's very brief and not too bad because it comes rushing down the hallway towards her.
So you again, Dave, you were talking about how the story is more about Julie and Frank and whatnot, and
So
you know,
while she's away in that bit, is that what you're talking about?
No, I was just going to bring up how the Cenobites themselves are literally in this movie for less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And how this story just revolves around that, and how when they do come on screen, how much presence they have.
Oh, yeah, they have.
As
because Becky opened the box, doesn't it? Didn't she?
Becky?
Kirsty.
Kirsty
opens the box.
Yes.
So they're summoned. That's what brings the Cenobites to you.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's someone escaped from you, because she knows that Frank's regrowing, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yes.
In the house.
She makes a deal, doesn't
So
she?
she's like, again, it's like a deal with the devil.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is what you meant, yeah.
Because they're like, I need to... what is it? What's the line? I need to see with my own eyes or something.
And then maybe. Can I just talk about his voice in this fucking movie?
Yeah. We need to address it. Yeah.
It is so good. I'm sure it's edited, obviously, make it deep and whatnot, but it is... Good God, I want him to narrate my life with that fucking voice. That voice is amazing.
Your life would be terrifying.
I know, but good God,
could you imagine
just
that?
how he does that voice.
Goes to the supermarket.
That voice is just a presence of its own.
Yeah, but if he was narrating, just before you move on to serious stuff, if he was narrating your life with that voice, you would be shitting yourself every time.
Yeah, because
you'd be sitting there and here's a sound, and you'd be like, oh shit, I'm going there. And it's just
all right, let's forget let's have Morgan Freeman come back and narrate my life.
And then it's just Lou walking in or something with the shopping.
Anyway,
so his voice is fantastic as Pinhead in this one.
Yeah.
It's got
some of the lines he has is good.
Yeah.
He has some cracking lines.
You opened the box. We have come.
We came.
We came, yeah.
And what was the line about angels to some?
Yeah. Angels to some, demons to others. Yeah.
Just,
that hints back to the main theme of the whole genre, which is, it depends on how you're looking at it.
No tears, please.
Yeah.
No
That's
tears.
a waste of good
suffering.
But, so you've got, two sides of the same coin, pleasure and pain. It's the blurring of the boundaries. These people are looking for sensation.
Yes.
For desire.
Because she's not. She's not. Just wanted to open the box.
She's curiously opened the box, and bought them. So she's not... The intent was not the same as, say, Frank. So she's not wanted to summon them because she's an explorer of the furthest realms and, dark pleasures and things like that.
Which comes back to a line that he says, I think it's in the third film.
Oh, skip
we'll
ahead.
come to that.
Basically, she tells them that someone's escaped their realm, and they're like,
no one escapes us.
He goes impossible.
Except everyone seems to fucking escape.
Right.
They're not very good. They must be too busy ripping each other with chains. Anyway, so and like I say, we see in this one you've got the four main Cenobites. You've got the female Cenobite.
Yeah.
You've got Pinhead. You've got Butterball. And you've got
Chatter, isn't it?
The Chatterer. Also.
The Chatterer.
Yeah. And I'm just want to, again, we talked about the voice. I want to talk about the design a little bit here.
Yes,
I know it's
it's
a bit like BDSM, but
definitely.
You've got like it is a very good look for horror because they've got like strips of their flesh peeled, and you've got the iconic Pinhead, which everyone listening will be able to probably get an image of straight up with the the cut lines in the grid on his face and all the nails in. The lady, she's got like a wire frame that holds her neck open, so it shows her vocal cords, and she's got like a really raspy voice and a very distinctive sort of bald head, pale skin.
Yeah.
The Chatterers adds that sound, that creepy sound like that.
But he's got no eyes or anything.
It's just flesh with like a mouth sort of enlarged that you just the lips held back, so you can see the teeth going the whole time. And then you've got Butterball, who's this sort of blobby, corpulent.
Basically me with sunglasses.
Oh, come on, man, that's a bit harsh. Yeah, wearing dark sunglasses. He looks like an extra from The Matrix went wrong.
Yes, totally. Yeah,
in the black with the dark shades, and he's sort of always like licking his lips in a really creepy way. Like anyone who's seen the film will remember this. Yeah. And so you've got these very iconic, dramatic characters, and she makes a deal with them, which is why I like Kirsty, because she isn't terrified.
No,
she's got the smarts when she's confronted with Hellraiser,
and engineers chasing her and stuff. She's pretty calm and cool about all this.
She does well in really tough situations, and she knows that her one chip to bargain her way out of this is to tell them
Give
they've
them
lost
strength.
someone.
She's smart, man.
Yeah.
So she basically puts them on, and they say, "Okay, bring us to him.
Yeah.
Show him to us."
Show them, yeah.
So she has to go back to the house.
Yeah.
Where
Otherwise,
sorry,
we'll tear your soul apart.
yeah.
So good.
So she goes back to the murder house. The English, not English,
English,
house.
not American house. Yeah.
not American house to confront her stepmom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's also really worried about her father, Larry.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Unknown.
Because she's worried that they're going to kill him or something.
Whilst she's dealing with the Cenobites, something does happen to him, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Does we don't see it though, do
But
we?
we don't see it.
Yeah.
So when she goes back to the house, she sees her stepmom, Julia, and
Sees her dad.
What she sees her dad, who's
Well.
acting a bit different, but and a bit sweaty. But
Yeah.
and then the story progresses quite dramatically, and we realise that it isn't her dad.
No.
No.
It's Frank. He's killed her father. So when she's gone upstairs, seen the flayed body upstairs, she assumes that's Frank who's died,
Yes. Yeah.
and she shows. She brings the Cenobites, doesn't
Well, no,
she?
she walks out the door, but then all of a sudden they're just they're there behind. It's such a good
Yeah.
shot. The
Yeah.
sound effects, and it's like
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
and then all the candles
Yeah.
are around him.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, oh, it's so well placed that shot. It's just brilliant. It's like,
Yeah.
we
And
want the man who did this.
That's right. Yeah.
Because she thinks it's her father.
Yeah.
And I love how that shot starts.
Yeah.
I mentioned this to you at
Yeah.
work. How it's
Well,
sort
she-
of looking up at him, and
Yeah.
the way he
Looking up,
points
yeah.
down but looks over the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh,
such
yeah.
a good shot.
Again, so much good cinema.
Yeah.
So much good angles for cinematography. Thing, love it. Sound, everything. So and then she realizes it, and you've got the line which we're going to talk about that reoccurs
Yep.
again and again throughout these Hellraisers. Come to daddy.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's because it's her uncle, and she realizes when he says that,
Yeah, that is
that
Frank.
it's not her
That's-
father.
yeah,
it's Frank.
Because
her
Larry
uncle.
would never say anything like that. Yeah.
No. And so then begins the battle, isn't it? Effectively,
Yep.
but
So
trying.
doesn't
to,
he accidentally stab Julia?
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He
Nothing
accidentally-
personal,
He has a-
baby.
he has
But
a
she
flick
doesn't.
knife,
She doesn't
doesn't
die though, does she?
he? No.
Well, not quite.
She does, but not there.
She doesn't.
Not
Yeah,
there.
not
No.
there. No.
Yeah.
And he goes into the room, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You set me up,
Yeah.
bitch. Yeah, and he gets the fucking. Oh my god, he gets
well,
obliterated,
That's why
mate.
They-
It's-
chains and hooks
the chains.
come out of everywhere and anywhere.
and they're hooked, and his face is being pulled apart, isn't it? And then
His
you get
literally
that-
skin's been
His skin-
stretched, everything, isn't it?
and it's again another good practical thing, I
Yeah.
think. And he literally just looks at the camera, and you get that lovely shot, and he just goes
just before he dies, isn't it?
just before he dies and gets taken back to hell by the Cenobites, and he just goes, "Jesus wept."
Yeah.
And
Which wasn't the original
And then-
line, was it?
And then boom.
yeah.
That was what the actor come up with that, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Was it?
Yeah, that was never scripted. It was something simple like "fuck you" or whatever it
yeah,
was,
yeah.
and then the actor who played him thought, "Oh no, I'll do this,"
Yeah.
and then Clive Barker was like, "That's fucking genius. I'm keeping that." So yeah. So,
Also, we've missed
the
out-
thing, but the thing is that when you hear a line like that, and because of how it's all about hell and whatnot,
And
you
there's-
thought Clive Barker would write something like "Jesus wept," you know? How
well,
it's very,
it's a dark religion almost.
Yeah.
Of the Cenobites. The Cenobites are priests, effectively.
Yeah.
They're,
Yes.
So the Pinhead is the high priest of the Leviathan god.
yeah.
Which we'll go into in the second one. So they are like almost a religion. So it's that dark mirror to religion as we know it. So that's why when that line came up the first time, I was like, oh, nice, because you're bringing it round.
You bring
to
some into
religion.
this, John. You've been quite quiet.
Dave's got it
John,
on.
No, come on.
John. Why don't you talk to us? We've skipped out a bit.
We've skipped out loads of it, so we didn't
But
want to
what
go
about
for
what
one
about
for
the
one.
cricket bit? The cricket guy. Do you know about him? Do you remember
Yes.
him?
The
Do you want
homeless
to talk
guy.
about him?
Yeah.
Go on, you lead us into him.
Apparently, he's the guardian of the puzzle box.
So randomly, Kirsty sees
This is the what's your pleasure,
homeless.
sir?
Yeah, she
Well,
sees this homeless dude, and he keeps looking at her, and she ends up going into the.
This is throughout the movie you're talking
Yeah,
about.
this is earlier. We
You see him a couple of times, but brief flashes. There's no real anything to do.
Well,
with
he
him.
turns up at her.
Yeah, that's what I
workplace,
mean. But then she goes into his pet store.
that's her workplace. That's
Yeah,
where she
and
works.
she's in the pet store, and this woman's asking her questions or whatever, and she sees this guy like lurking, and so she goes over to him, and he's handing this box of like locusts or something, and he's eating them, and then she tells him to get out. But he turns out to be the puzzle box guardian,
Yeah.
Right.
and because then at the very end of the film,
they're trying to...
The house is on fire. He just walks basically...
Well, they've taken Kirsty and her little boyfriend, who we don't know. I can't remember his name,
Steve.
Who just sort of turned up right at the end to help out.
Yeah.
They're trying to burn the box.
Yeah.
And that's in some waste ground.
Yeah. And he walks into the flames and picks up the box and looks at her. And
then what happens?
It doesn't burn, you know.
Yeah, and then what happens?
What does he turn into?
I can't.
He turns into a massive fucking skeletal dragon.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And that is an album cover,
and then you just hear that voice, like you say, the
scene fly
in the very beginning of it.
Well, then it cuts, I think, again back to the market. And you just hear the voice.
So it starts all over again, doesn't it?
But you just hear this. What's your pleasure, sir?
We've kind of missed out a few bits here. So obviously, when Frank's died, Kirsty's got rid of. She's found. Julia on the mattress who's been
with the box.
Who's been cut up by all the chains and stuff. So she essentially died on that mattress. And she changes it, gets rid of the pinhead and whatnot, and then all the other ones try and attack her. And then Dave's favourite scene pops up.
Yeah, I forgot that. So, she's using the box. She's closing the box and sending all the Cenobites back, isn't she?
Yes, yeah.
One by one.
She's worked out one by one. And there's a nice old-fashioned little, where the little flame, lightning, but goes across them, so it goes down all the lines.
Very 80s lightning.
Very 80s, I have a retro place for that in my heart. But then she battles the engineer, and this is what I moaned about to you at work, because this really doesn't look good. It's her, Steve versus the engineer, the weird big giant flesh scorpion thing with the big face. And it goes on just too long.
It does.
And I was saying to Ant at work, because it made me laugh.
They try to leave the front door, and he's at the front door, isn't he?
He's blocking it, and she's trying to get the box to send it back to the Hell region, and it's knocking it out, but it's like, obviously it's just a puppet, like a really bad puppet hand knocking it onto the floor, and then she tries to grab it, and it knocks her hand away, and then it cuts to a shot of its big fat face with its teeth going, and then back to the hand, knock it away. It's just
like you say, it goes on too long.
Bless them, they tried, and they wanted to make it a dramatic battle, but
it seems like they tried to do it for run time, wasn't it? To make it a little bit longer.
They just didn't have the
budget or anything.
Just didn't have the budget at the time, or the practical effects. I think for that sort of thing, it's the same situation we had the other Spooktacular season with It, the TV series.
Yes.
It just
towards the end of chapter 2, wasn't it? Yeah, the budget just ran out.
Yeah, and I think at the time it all had to be puppets, and it just doesn't hold up. You know, if you're seeing a brief flash of a puppet, fine, but when you're seeing a prolonged battle where they're like trying to get the trying to get the thing out, like in a sort of epic battle that is a bit naff. That's the one thing in this movie that doesn't really hold up, in my opinion.
Anything you want to throw in, John? Got any facts or anything?
If we're going to end the first one there.
End it there if you want.
Well, because we were saying...
sorry, before you do that, I just want to throw in how, for a cheap budget movie, can you appreciate the score for this film?
Oh, hell yeah.
The score for this film is friggin' amazing. Let's put Christopher Young's score in this. Is I think he carried on through the whole trilogy, didn't he?
I think so,
There's elements of it in all of them. Yeah.
But this is coming from a guy who was he was in a band. He was like a rock band or something, wasn't he? And he'd gone from that to film composer. And good God, does this movie stand out? It has its own theme and everything, and it's kind of carried on with all the other films. But I just, oh my God, it's amazing for a small budget. And he tried. I believe Clive Barker tried to get other people on it, but then when Christopher Young was signed on for this, he had the idea straight away what he wanted to go for, and it just delivers, man, so well. It's a really good score.
Like I say, it's one of my favourites, Hellraiser, and I love all of them for different reasons. But if you haven't watched it and you're listening to this, go and watch it.
I mean, we've spoiled most of it, but you still need to watch it. You still need to watch it regardless.
Spoiler alert!
Sorry, John. Let's throw in your facts for the first movie. We're going to throw in the. Go on, John. Right, say it.
In the first one.
Did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know?
There we go.
Thank you.
During the production of the first film, Barker asked the production team for a suitable name after the original novel titled The Hellbound Heart was rejected by executives. And one older lady in the group suggested, "What a woman will do for a good fuck." Oh my God! Seriously?
I think we work with a few ladies who'd say that.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, it's true. But
that's an extreme length to go for a good fuck.
You talking about how Pinhead was like the priest for what we find out in number 2 and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember Doug Bradley he come up with a quote saying that the hell in this movie is personified like prison, and he's a prison guard and brings him back to prison and stuff like that. And it's just like, I never really thought of it like that, to be honest.
No,
but like you said, people keep escaping, so he's got to bring them back.
I think we are going to look at. We're going to talk about this in a second when we move on to the second Hellraiser movie. But yeah, I've always looked at it like a labyrinth. But what is a labyrinth but a maze that traps you?
Yeah,
and we see people's individual hells in the second one, don't we? So yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
yeah. Moving on to number 2, John.
Yes,
let's do it then. Number 2, which is Hellraiser 2 Hellbound. Literally a year later.
Yeah. Yep, 88.
They pushed this out fucking quick, didn't they? Jesus Christ. And I think that's one of the reasons why Clive Barker didn't come back.
Yeah, possibly.
No, he was working on something else.
Well, he said he was writing his second book.
Yeah.
And I believe that they wanted it out sooner. If he said the producers are getting involved too much because this first one was more about his own baby, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they wanted it pushed out so soon. It's like, give him time. It would have been quite good.
Oh, yeah.
I do like the second one.
But I was about to say, as a sequel, what do you think of it?
I liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I like it because we've got some callbacks and we sort of carry on the story a little bit.
And you thought the first one was gory?
Yeah, I know.
That's nothing compared to this. I think this is the goriest out of the 3.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah?
But I like... So we continue the story.
Yeah.
So we get some more closure, we get some more resolution with that, but it explores a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's why I liked it, because it shows us more of the
she-
Hellraiser story.
You like number 2, John?
Yeah.
Yeah? Why?
It's like Dave said.
Yeah.
You get they explain, who Pinhead used to be and how he became him and so on. So there's a little bit more into that realm.
Do you think it kept the tone of the first one at all?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Considering we've got a different director with this one, because Clive Barker's not back now, is he?
No.
You can see some differences.
Yeah.
Stylistically differences, but I don't think it necessarily suffers from it.
No,
Okay.
I don't think it does, no.
I think it holds up.
Yeah,
personally. To me, anyway.
Yeah.
So how do we start with this one then?
What, as in the movie, or
as
the three of us sitting there?
No, as in the movie.
Do you want to lead on this one?
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Police interview room.
No.
Okay, come on.
We start with the origin of Pinhead, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We see
He's
before he becomes Pinhead, don't we?
Yeah, he's in uniform, isn't he?
He's like a soldier, isn't he, of some sort?
He's a captain.
Well, this is what confuses me, because in this movie, you see him and he looks like he's in some sort of bunker.
Yes.
But he's got that old English helmet, hasn't he?
Yes.
From like the Zulu
Wars,
sort of era.
Yeah.
Well, that's on the desk. Yeah,
that's on the desk, and he's got that uniform, and it looks
deserty wherever he is.
Sort of, before for the First World War.
Yeah.
It to me, when I saw that first, it harkened back to the old British explorers, which links, I think, was done possibly to link into him being an explorer.
Yeah,
true.
Exploring what he could, was left to explore in that time.
He'd been through
early
war
1900s, things like that. Well, this is before the war.
Oh,
almost. It felt like to me. I mean, in the third one, you get a bit more knowledge,
a bit more World War One,
and now he wants to explore beyond the realms. It just sort of, to me, that imagery links to an explorer, an old British explorer.
Yeah.
End of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. And which would link into him wanting to explore dark pleasures and pleasures, stuff like that. So you see him in the iconic bunker. It's like a
opens the box, the chains pop out, and you see him get cut up and putting all the pins in his head and stuff.
And that's the engineer, isn't it? That's the. Isn't that? Didn't you say
it's like a hammer that goes.
You never see who
puts
does
one
it.
in, isn't it?
But isn't it the engineer?
It must be the engineer.
Didn't you tell me?
Huh?
Didn't you tell me it was the engineer that was hammering, that was making him?
You don't see.
You don't really see, but you see like the tentacles and stuff, don't you? Yeah.
But I would imagine the mere name, the engineer, that it would be him doing it. But you don't see who actually does it.
So you see a lot of close-up shots of him getting.
That's quite good.
The shot when he's like got it all in. It's like, and then, it zooms out and you see all the blood around him. That is a really cool
just hammering them nails into his head. Cool.
And then how that shot pans out from Kirsty's eye. And then we're like, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
What, a few days after the first one? Yeah. Kirsty's back. And then, like you said, John, she's in a mental home or something, or in a hospital or some sort.
Yeah, this is the problem. There's a little bit of a leap where... And it's a cinema thing, isn't it? They obviously didn't get... they didn't want to have, or they couldn't get Steve back in.
No.
So literally it's like there's a throwaway line where it's like, we picked both of them up. Steve got better and went home.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only time
Steve talked and went,
And Kirsty is suffering from having had a run-in with a Cenobite.
Yeah.
So she is, locked up in a secure mental hospital or something.
Yeah.
Which is a really creepy... I hate those sort of old wireframe beds and
being looked after by
those
Dr.
tiles. And there's a really interesting scene early on in this movie, which we talked about, and I'll talk about now. The main doctor... Is it
Dr. Channard?
Yeah.
Channard, yeah.
He is operating in front of some surgery students, I'm assuming.
Yes.
On someone's brain. The person's awake.
Yeah.
Like in brain surgery, and you've got that shot of her with like the stuff blocking her head while he's poking around in the brain, eyes wide open. It's almost
with the little drill thing, isn't it?
Yeah, almost very linking to how the Cenobites are made, and how the Cenobites are made conscious while their heads being stuff is done to. But he's talking about the mind, and he's like, the human mind is a labyrinth, and goes on and talks about how we can't understand it and we try to explore it. Which links nicely later on into the movie.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
It's almost like foreshadowing, isn't it? Of the Hell region and things like that. Yeah, because
like you said, he brings it up and you're kind of like, where's this going? Well, and then obviously we find out later, don't we? So
you have that little thing. Then he's got like an assistant or a junior doctor, Kyle.
A.K.A. Lieutenant Gorman from Aliens.
Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah. I knew I've recognised him somewhere. Yeah.
So they're basically the two of them are trying to... And there's a police detective who's very ham-fisted trying to interview.
Yeah, he's a bit weird, this guy. He's barely in it as well. It's like he wants to know what happens, but then he's gone in like the first 5 minutes.
A couple of minutes.
Well, they found bodies, haven't they, in the house?
Yeah, the ones that Julia stashed. Yeah,
and also like
because because the copper finds one and shoots it, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's been damaged. It's taken 7 bullet damage.
John, that'd be so you'd be like, you'd shoot it first, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
Die,
you
commie fucker.
Die, you commie fucker. Yeah.
And that's again the American police as opposed to
the And that's where the confusion is, because they wanted it, like the executives wanted it to be in America because they thought it would appeal more. But it was so clearly, the first one is so clearly in England.
I know, but it wouldn't have been as good if British Bobby opened the cupboard.
They wouldn't have had guns for a start.
And started whacking it with a truncheon.
With a truncheon, yeah, exactly. So,
Give them guns. Anyway, so she's in hospital. Yeah. She's suffering. They're trying to get her to talk. She's not talking. There's a scene which is quite good. Or she has
tried to tell them, but they don't listen to her.
Well, no, at that point, she's not really trying to tell... she's not really talkative.
And no, I think she does. And then they just don't believe her, do they?
Yeah, she's told them and they don't believe her. So that's when in the end the guy goes. That Kyle goes, and
that's when he brings up Dr. Channard, whatever it is, and then we find out he's got an obsession. This is like the first rich man we find out that has an obsession with, who knows about the box and stuff,
which is another theme, isn't it?
Yeah,
but we don't find out straight away.
No.
You find out he's got a weird basement, like from Friday. Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, it's got loads of pipes. He goes down to
the boiler room, isn't it?
To maintenance or whatever, and there's just like your most nightmare fuel driven like insane asylum. They're all padded. It shows you all them in the cells, doesn't
it?
That's
right. Yeah. Get them off me!
And like people just looking, screaming and things, and he's just looking at them, isn't he?
And then we find out that Dr. Channard wants the mattress from the house.
He does want the mattress
and brings it to his home.
His house,
his house, isn't it?
But before that, don't we have the bit where Kirsty dreams of her father?
Oh shit! Yes, you're quite right. Yeah.
So she has a dream of a flayed person, which she thinks is her father.
Because he says, "Help, I'm in hell" or something. Right on the wall.
Yeah. In blood, and then
So she's convinced, like you say, that it's her father. And
she walks out and goes and finds that other girl, doesn't she?
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
The girl who doesn't speak.
puzzle solver.
Who doesn't speak, who solves puzzles,
Typical 80s insane person,
She's just not talking. She's also trying to be healed.
Yeah.
And
she's making a box, isn't she?
She's like a random puzzle thing.
But it's making a box.
Yes, but it's not the box.
It's not the box, but it links to the box.
Yeah.
And anyway, so skipping forwards, we go to we find out Dr. Channard is in his house. He is basically
doesn't Carl have his suspicions about him already?
He follows him and sort of hides behind the curtain, doesn't he, by the French windows? And
because he overhears
notice
the doctor telling people to bring the mattress to my house. Remember, to my house, not the hospital.
And it's still got the chains on from the box as well.
But before that, Kirsty says to him, "You must destroy the mattress."
Yes. Because Julia died on that mattress.
Julia died on that, and she could come back, and that's what fascinates him, I think.
Yeah,
and that Kyle goes to get him, and as he approaches the door, he overhears him saying, "Bring the mattress to my house." So, like you say, he goes to the house, but hides behind the curtain.
And there's all sorts of documents that let us as the audience know that he's been exploring the box.
And he's got 3 boxes.
He's got 3 boxes under.
That's never explained, is it?
No,
they're different names. I think they are different.
Yeah,
are they different boxes?
They look different. Yeah, there's one that we know, but the other 2 are designs on them we haven't seen before.
They're sort of in specimen jars. He doesn't know what to do with them, does he?
So this Carl's followed Dr. Channard to his home. He's a bit suspicious about it, but he's found out he's bought one of the insane people.
He hears a noise, doesn't he? And he hides behind the curtain. And he comes in with the patient who earlier he'd walked down the corridor.
Get them off me!
Get them off me!
And we find out what he wants to get off him, and that is another grim.
Oh yeah,
that creeps me out.
He hands him the razor, doesn't he?
But
so like the first movie, he needs blood to bring back to go on this mattress, so he gives it the person to cut himself up, doesn't he?
Does he go, oh no, I'll just drop some of my own blood, or I'll just cut his hand? No, he gives it to a really mentally ill guy who's seeing maggots burrowing into
which we see as well, don't we?
Which you see through his eyes, and that makes me, that really gets me.
That is a brutal scene.
And then this guy with a cutthroat razor is slicing himself open, trying to slice off the maggots, which it keeps cutting back to showing, and it links back to what I said earlier about vermin and disease. And
it's not just a couple of maggots either.
Oh, that thing is hundreds of them wriggling around. And I don't like maggots wriggling in like that, so that just creeped me out.
In that region.
Or just any on flesh and stuff, it's really creepy. And then we see a really good scene, which Ant likes.
When Julia pops out, when the arms and the legs come out and hook onto him, and
rolls out of the mattress.
And the way her face just comes out of the mattress, and her, because she's got these stunning blue eyes, Julia, the way she just looks up and looks at Dr. Channard, it's such a good shot.
Watches as she battles him over the floor, and they're both painted red with blood at the end. Aren't they?
They are just smothered.
And he's reaching for the curtain, which Kyle is hiding behind it. So I found, as an audience person, like watching that, you're like, no, he's going to pull the curtain, but he doesn't quite make it.
But what makes me laugh about that scene, so the curtains are kind of open though, aren't they? So you can see the door behind it, and he's just hiding in the corner behind the thing. And later on, he sneaks out, but you would see him clear as day sneak out, because it's just like...
So. But there's a lot of continuity errors in it.
Suspension of disbelief.
But anyway... Julie's says, help me.
Sticks her hands back in, didn't she?
Oh, the vampire thing. She puts him in the back of the head and absorbs the guy, doesn't he? Yeah. And she's like, help me. And I just love how he doesn't come and pick her up or anything. He just pushes the mattress to her, doesn't he?
It's Frank and Julia all over again, but
that's what I love about this. This is her version.
I was going to say,
isn't it?
This is a powered switch. So rather than being enthralled to Frank, she's her own monster now.
She's learned from a monster to be one.
He is enthralled with her. She is again using the seductress, because there's he bandages her up, doesn't he?
Yes.
So he covers her in bandages, almost head to toe, and then there is a really grim scene where she uses her black charm to sort of caress, and they start kissing again, and then there's a horrible scene. He slips his hand down the bandages in her crotch. And I'm like, why did you need to do this?
Why did you need to have bandage?
Well, I'm just I did not need that image in my head of her.
Because she's got a dress on, hasn't she? And
no, she's got bandages wrapped around.
Yeah, but
before that, she has the white gown, doesn't she? Yeah, she smashes the mirror when she's.
But why do we need an image of?
We didn't need that.
We do not. That haunts me.
But no, but again, so we essentially Dr. Chenard is Julia.
Yes,
he brings
so-
the people to them.
He's bringing young, attractive women that he then hangs in his own version of
exactly,
the murder attic.
Creeping motherfucker.
Yeah. And again, that's another horrible shot that they set up. So you've got all the women in various states of decomposition hanging from hooks with maggots all in them again. What? The maggots again? Fucking...
And rats.
Fucking maggots.
Creeping me out. So...
Yeah, and obviously Carl goes back to Kirsty now and says, look, I believe you.
Yeah,
We've got to get out of here and stop them, basically, don't we? So
But then he says to her about he's even got a box like what you're on about, and she goes, "What? He's got the box?" And he goes, "Yeah, we've got to get the box from him." So they go back to the house, don't they?
Yes.
And then Carl does a really stupid thing.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking idiots.
80s horror.
He clearly just saw her and now he's like...
Well, he's seen fleshless monster Julia, and then he's like, "You stay down here. I'm going to go and check upstairs for anything." And he goes upstairs to check for anything, finds a woman and goes, "I'll trust you."
Yeah, because obviously he hasn't seen her with flesh on.
No, but you would be like, "Oh shit, I'm sneaking into someone's house.
Yeah.
There's a random woman."
He doesn't hear the door open, yet she's there.
She's there behind him,
Really?
and he's like, "Oh look, I'll go into this murder.
Yeah.
Oh look, I've said loads of people.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's
Oh
got
no,
me.
I'm dead.
She's got him."
But there's a cool shot when she does kill him, though,
Yeah.
because her back's sort of not put together. The skin's
that's
not all
right.
there.
Yeah.
And it goes around, and when it comes
then-
back around, the skin's back to normal. It's very cool, yeah.
Yeah, so she drains him.
Yeah,
doesn't
and
she?
then Kirsty hears,
He's the last bit of draining.
Yeah.
and then Kirsty hears the body fall, so she goes upstairs and she walks in there and sees him.
And sees Julia.
And then, but there's a good line that Julia says to her, because she turns around and she says to her, "You have surprisingly good taste in men." They didn't tell you, did they? They've changed the rules of the fairy tale. I'm no longer just a wicked stepmother. Now I'm the evil queen.
It's such a good line.
I was like, oh my God.
That is a good line.
Yeah.
He's good, yeah. And then she go...
Slaps around the blood.
And then we get the puzzle solver now. So they set her up. They give her the box to try and summon them, don't they?
The child,
Chenard and Julia. Because she wants... This is what I don't get, because she's just escaped there, right? But she wants to take him inside. That's what I don't get about this story.
Well, I think she's not trying to escape.
Right, okay.
I think she's embracing the Leviathan.
Right, okay.
So she's becoming...
Who is?
Julia.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because she wants to bring him back into the Leviathan. Because she brings him to see him, doesn't
That's
she?
true, yeah.
To
Which we'll
see
talk
the-
about in a
the
second,
Leviathan.
yeah.
So, the child summons the Cenobites, doesn't she?
Yes.
And we get that... Somewhere in that, we get that lovely line where it's like, "It is not the hands that summon us, it's the desire."
Desire, yes. Yes, because they're about to kill the girl, aren't they?
You expect them to come and kill the mute child.
Yeah.
They're about... Because the woman's got the fucking cleavers on around and shit, isn't she? Yeah.
And Pinhead stops them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, "It's not the hands that summon us, it's
Because
the
they're watching
desire."
through a weird mirror, aren't they? In
That's
the wall?
right.
Yeah.
And because it's in a secret room,
Yeah.
and he
Secret
turns and
room.
looks over there. They're like, But I was talking to Dave about this the other day. It's like his voice is different in this one. It's not as deep as number one was. No. It's still there. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's as good.
No,
I mean he has great lines in this movie, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But the voice. Because I was kind of a bit bummed out by that they changed that in this one.
But the thing is, they did a lot of dubbing in both.
I know,
films.
but it'd be nice to keep the essence of his voice.
Yeah, I don't think they dubbed Doug Bradley's voice, but like you say,
it's more
But
human.
his intro on that, because the other Cenobites come out first, and then he's the last one, and that epic Christopher Young music comes.
I love this movie. And then we get into the Hell realm, don't we?
We go to Hellbound, don't we? Essentially,
and
which is a nice change from being just cooped up in a house,
and it shows. It moves your knowledge on, doesn't it? It shows you a little bit more of the lore of this realm, this hell. And it's not. And I really like this because, like I've said earlier, I like explorations of hell.
Sure.
Another example is Preacher.
Yep.
The TV series. I like the way they've done hell in that. I like different depictions of this. So this is not your flames, your burning skies, and pits of lava and screaming.
It's quite the opposite, really, isn't it?
Your Dante's Inferno, hot pools of people screaming and writhing in rivers of blood.
Yeah.
This is very empty. And it's like a labyrinth, and it's
very blue and dark
and grey. But I can't remember the art. There's an artist who did those convoluted paintings with all the staircases.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes,
do you see what I'm trying to describe for the?
Not Blake, is it?
No, but there's like it's like staircases going in and out of each other and upside
so like
down,
almost like eternal
staircases. Yeah, it reminded me of that, and it's like a labyrinth, which harkens back to what he said. Dr. Chenard said at the beginning about the brain being a labyrinth, being a mystery, being a maze that we are trying to explore. So
I know you said it was just empty at some points, but isn't there points where he looks in rooms and sees things?
Yes.
Like,
so when you see the overhead shot of it, and it reminds me the cinema style that they've done it in. It reminds me a lot of weirdly Monty Python.
Okay,
their sort of art style when they did. It's like a painting.
Yeah.
That they've used for a background or like a drawing that they've used. And I've got nostalgia for that. I mean, they could probably do it now with CG and make it look a bit more realistic, but I quite like that otherworld sort of aspect. And what I like about it is above it, you've got this diamond,
which
is elongated
Leviathan,
diamond shape, which is Leviathan, and we find out later is God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is a dark god to the Cenobites.
Yeah.
What is it? Do we know? Is it God? Is it a god? Is it a devil? Is it an alien?
It's an entity of some kind.
It's an entity of some kind, and it's got a love. And
that's the one with the black rays coming out of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So as we see it in this first shot, it's dominating this hellscape of labyrinthine stairs and pits and things like that. And it's like a weird lighthouse because it's got like a black light.
That's
isn't
right.
it?
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
And at one point we see Dr. Chenard and Julia, and it shows them in like a Polaroid negative, doesn't it?
Yes. When the black
beam
light goes
hits
on
them,
yeah.
So I just like that. It's like I feel like that.
It's the mystery of it.
It's the mystery of it that I like of that. But we move on and we see all these tunnels and they're empty, dark, cold. You imagine tunnels, and that's where Julia is running. Not Julia, sorry, Kirsty is running around in them with the child and things like that.
Because she finds the box not long after Tiffany opens the portal, shall we say.
Are you glad that the engineer didn't come back into it, though?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because Kirsty sort of goes into Hellbound in the first one, but then he stops, he's there guarding the way, isn't he? Yeah. I'm kind of glad he didn't come back.
It's like when Pinhead and that appears to Tiffany and Kirsty grabs the box and runs off with it. And then Pinhead says that line to her. He goes, your suffering will be legendary.
Yes, I love that line.
That's one of your favourite lines.
No. He does say that later on, but he says, we have eternity to enjoy your flesh.
That's what he says. But no, he says, no more Jills this time.
Yes, Later on, then he does say, your suffering will be legendary.
But you talking about, again, we don't see an awful lot of these Cenobites in the labyrinth, do we? No. We just, like you said, it's very empty, very... There are things there, but we only get like a certain bit of it. And
you hear things as well, but you don't.
But when you said, here's that line, like, don't worry, we've got eternity to. I just wanted a bit more from them. Like if she turned and they were just the other end of the corridor or something, Well, it's just the essence of being chased, if you will.
I think, yes, I can definitely see where you're coming to. Because
it was the same four, in a sense, as was in the first one. You think, surely there's more to it, which they did in the third one.
Yeah.
They did bring some more to it. But I would have, like you say...
But I don't know if it's like a budgetary thing or whatnot.
You've gone into that labyrinth, and yet there's no other Cenobites there. So
I think they... I don't think it's too bad. It would have been nice to see a little bit more.
Yeah, not like all the time, but just like a hint of something,
I think the fear of the labyrinth and the maze is that you're lost and you're alone and you've got no guidance, no help, and you're trapped forever, and... I quite liked that in this one. I didn't want to see loads of monsters around the place. I quite like the idea that maybe they would have gone down the route one in another movie where someone is But I just like you say, I would have liked to have seen them running around and maybe just see like Pinhead walk past the end of a corridor.
Something simple like that. Nothing
not running after him, but doing that really good horror trope.
They're too cool to do that,
Leading on to what he said, he's just taking his time because, like he said, I've got eternity to...
But then they're not particularly looking for Kirsty at that moment, are they?
That's true, that's true.
They've got...
But I can't remember if we skipped a bit, but I forgot Frank comes back.
Yeah.
Yes. This is what I was going to move on to. Yes.
Sorry, go on.
Kirsty finds his own hell, don't they, within this labyrinth?
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a really good shot of like a sort of room with all these benches, and there's like female
Writhing,
shapes writhing under white cotton, going, and it's vaguely sex like, noises.
So the thing we saw at the beginning saying "Help, I'm in hell" was Frank again, wasn't it?
Frank,
She thinks it's her father, which is why she's
he says it was her. He said, "You got my message there, Kirsty." So,
but that's why she's so desperate to go to hell, because she thinks she's going to rescue her father.
Sorry, we've skipped that. She's going into hell because she wants to find her dad, isn't it?
Yes.
Big point. Sorry, we forgot about that. Sorry, but it turns out it was Frank that was messaging
like
her.
Dave said, she finds this room, and Frank's in the room, and this is his hell.
And he says the line again, doesn't he?
But you know what? The first time I watched this movie and I saw that scene, I thought it was going to be like a little trickery thing. Like she's going to talk to Frank, they're going to have a little fight, and then the camera's going to swoop around and it's going to be Pinhead or something like that. Like a little mind fuck up, sort of thing. Just to really, fuck with yourself sort of thing. And but it turns out it was actually Frank in the end.
It's his hell.
Yeah.
That's where they brought him back.
Yeah. And that's what I realised. That's actually pretty good.
All the bodies burst into flame, don't they?
Yeah.
So. Well, but only because he says, I've got a special place for you, and this bed comes out, it's empty. Which again leads on to...
And then she does the Julia thing and seduces him over.
But she starts kissing him, and I said, come on then. But then she grabs the sheet, and then she goes, I'd rather you burned. Or something. And she throws the sheet, and all of a sudden it's covered in flame. Yeah. And then she runs away and leaves him there. So.
Oh, sorry, one more note. A nice little fact I told about to Dave the other night. If you ever watch the Arrow release of these movies, there's a really good making of documentary.
I'd love to see that.
When you see the Leviathan, it sort of horns, makes like sort of sound, and it does it 3 times. Yeah. And they're literally the notes G-O-D.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, when you told me that,
really cool.
When you told me that, I love that shit in films.
It's just like I can't believe that was the case. I thought it was just the same note, but it's not. It's literally 3 different notes.
I'll have to see if you can get the. Can you buy them as a collection?
Yes, you can. Yeah, Arrow's got a box set of them.
I'll have to try.
Yeah.
I'll have to go on Arrow and
if you ever get a chance, the making ofs are fucking awesome. They are really good.
You don't kind of get them anymore.
In fact, I think when that box set came out, I watched those more than the actual movies. Yeah, because again, just so many little nips and tricks on it. It's just brilliant. But that little thing just sort of stuck with me because I thought that was really cool. Like,
it does add to that. It does add that extra beneficial element to the film, doesn't it?
So there we've got the transformation. Yes. Yeah?
Go on, you tell.
Go tell us about this. The transformation of Dr. Chenard, shall we say. The doctor's in. So essentially Julia tricks him, doesn't she? Yeah. So like you wanted to know the pleasures, you wanted to know everything, so now you got it.
So she's brought him to Leviathan.
Yeah, so she's like throws him in a box, and he like gets stabbed with all these pins, and he gets injected. His blood gets sucked out, and the wire goes across his face. It is brutal. Again, this movie is fucking. When I saw this film, so much violence in this film. It is absolutely crazy. And then he goes down, and then later when he comes back, doesn't he?
He steps out of the box.
Yeah,
and he looks down at himself, and he goes, "Was it?" And to think I hesitated or something. Yeah, something like that.
And then
leading back to when we first see him. When he's doing that surgery on that guy on the brain, and he has this tool with his rotating blades, and all of a sudden you hear the noise and think, what? And then the camera pans up, and there's just like an arm or something with
penis. It's a massive penis. It's a massive penis with the drill at the end of it, isn't it?
Oh my god!
It attaches to his head. Even that sound alone is quite. It's quite trilling. I'm just like, ooh, it's just
And then it lifts him and he carries him around, doesn't it?
Yeah. That thing. Creepy. Yeah, it's just. That's a design and a half for that character. I mean, that's in a way, I mean, obviously apart from the beginning bit we saw with Pinhead, it kind of shows you how the Cenobites are made in a way, isn't it?
Which is
like you said, it's presented to Leviathan, isn't it? So
he makes them into his agents or its agents.
Yeah. Can't remember what happens next now.
Well, Kirsty and
Tiffany.
She bumps into Julie again, doesn't she? They're trying to escape now. So Kirsty's come to like realise that she's never going to find her dad, so she wants to get out.
I don't think her dad's there.
No, he's not. He's not.
She just thought he was because she saw the writing on the wall, which is obviously Frank playing on her mind.
Yeah. So she wants out, bumps into Julia, and this massive whirlwind of a
sucking air, trying to.
That was so clever.
It's such a crap way of shot, though, in honesty, because Julia's skin gets ripped off and she just falls into, in the quickest take ever, and this lump of skin is just on the floor there. It's a bit near.
Did you notice what she did with the box, though, Tiffany?
she slips it into
because she turns the box into that diamond shape.
That's it, yeah.
And that's what you see.
That's the Leviathan, yeah.
And then Kirsty. Well, no, we're jumping ahead a little bit, aren't we?
And now Dr. Chenard's chasing him now, isn't he? So, they go back to the real world, don't they?
No,
they come out of it, and then
because
we find out he's other patients, don't we?
Yeah, but before that, he attacks Kirsty and Tiffany, and Tiffany almost falls over the edge, and she's hanging on.
That's the end. No. Yeah, it is.
No.
It is.
You sure?
Yeah. Because we have Chenard versus the Cenobites first, and then that happens.
Oh, okay.
Because we go. I swear they come out of hell, and then
they go through the hospital, the hospital,
and then you see the other patients that are trying to solve the box, but they've got all chains again. So it's like another room with Chenard we never knew about.
And then he comes through the door, doesn't he?
That's it.
The doctor's in the house. Oh my god!
But then obviously she goes into the other room. The Cenobites are there waiting to kill Kirsty, and that's when she reveals the photo that she picked up of the real.
She goes, you were all.
And I like this because again, this shows that the Cenobites weren't always Cenobites. No, they were actual people, weren't they?
Which comes back to what we said earlier about that female one, and we couldn't figure out her name. Because you got Butterball and you have the Chatterer and then you have Pinhead, and apparently her name was Deep Throat. They don't, like you say.
No, that makes sense. Yes,
because of the connotations in the film,
right.
They didn't really rely on her name, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But because Kirsty says to him, you've not been here all that time, because they keep saying we've been here for millennia and all, and she goes, no, you were all human once.
Yes,
you've all been human beings, and they will say, no, don't be so ridiculous, sort of thing.
And I just love that. It's such a simple thing, but it was just like,
and she shows the picture of him,
but that's
when he was in his army
in the third one, isn't it?
Yes,
which we'll go on to because it explores the two halves, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then and then Chenard obviously pops in and you're like, here we go, a fucking fight scene, which has no budget whatsoever to it. It's like the tamest of fight scenes, but it's shot well when they start. Okay, it's like, I fight, and then they're all standing there, and then the chains come, and he points at them, and they're all like attacking.
But then Chenard has these things that come out of his hand,
tentacles that can intake anything, aren't they?
He cuts all the chains away,
and the next minute he just throws them these little spears at them, and the next minute all the Cenobites just stand there and take it.
And then they become human. When they die, you
see the real version of them, don't you? And the Chatter as a kid.
Yeah.
How weird's that?
Because he gets stuck to that pole, doesn't he? The beam. Yeah.
And then for some reason, Pinhead turns human.
Briefly.
I don't know why, but hey. But his death scene is quite brutal. When he gets his throat cut. He's standing there doing that.
Well, because she sort of frees him, doesn't she, Kirsty, almost?
Yes, she does.
Him of his
I love that little smile between the two of them. He's like, she smiles at him, he smiles back at her, and like, go get out of here.
Yeah. I've got this.
I was so hyped up.
He's trying to save her, isn't he?
When I first watched it, I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be fucking awesome. And it's literally got...
I think it's just budget.
The fight scene was literally over in a minute, and you think...
I think it's just budget, though.
Yeah, but there is one shot in it now, which is in the version we've all seen now, but originally, when he kills Deep Throat, you never saw her get killed. She just goes on the floor. But in this version... You see it go in the throat.
Yeah,
that one shot, you can tell the colouring in the background is completely different.
That's the one I saw. I watched it on Prime today.
Yeah, so that's the version that's been added because that was never the original.
She gets the spear or whatever you call it in the throat, and she falls down.
Literally in the gap where she was a nun.
Yeah, she was a nun, wasn't she?
Yeah. So that's that fight scene done, and then pretty much Chenard corners them, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And.
He follows them back into hell, or back into... Well, it is kind of
Yes,
hell,
it is, you're right. Yes, it is.
He follows them back in.
Yeah, and he is quite a brutal death scene himself, doesn't he?
But I thought it was quite clever how, I kind of got it wrong, the timing wrong on it, but when she falls off the edge and she's holding on the edge and Kirsty kind of like leaves, but then you don't see what she does because she comes back and all of a sudden now it's Julia.
Julia's popped up.
He's saying, trust me, I hope you. And then you start to see the skin start to come out and you think, oh, hang on a fuck minute.
But before that, Chenard dies, so she tricks Chenard thinking this is Julia and he kisses her.
Yeah.
And then he shoots one of his little things and it sticks to the ground and he's stuck, isn't he? So, but then his penis head at the top is pulling him off and then rips his fucking head off. Like, oh my God. Brutal. And And then obviously saves Tiffany, takes the skin off, and it's not Julie. It's
Kirsty.
Hey, it's Kirsty.
But what a thing to do to run back and find obviously.
That would have taken her forever to put that skin on. Fuck's sake! There's no way we've done that quick. And then they make it home, don't they? Essentially,
they get back.
Yeah, pretty much it. And then we have coppers investigate Chenard's home. They find the mattress.
Yeah. The removal men find the house.
Is it removal? Yes, you're right. I'm sorry, you're
removal
right.
Men go to the house, and the guy that goes up the stairs he's almost like a Frank lookalike.
Mm. But then the arm just pops out of nowhere and grabs him, and then whatever.
Exactly.
And then the other guy goes in, and the little spinning pillar thing comes up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And has the face of.
Because he's looking.
It has a bit of everything on there, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Pinhead's face is on there.
Yeah. And the penis.
The penis, the baby with no mouth.
They're all, like you said, there's bits of everybody on it. But they find.
But then the final shot is.
The paperwork, no.
No, it's mentioned the man with the crickets.
Oh, gosh, yeah. But it's a different guy, I think.
He's on the pillar. It's done a different actor, but it's another Guardian, isn't it?
Another Guardian, yeah.
And he says, "What's your pleasure?"
Yeah.
End of the second film.
End of 2. So, that was...
too good for
not bad a sequel. I mean, I didn't like it at first, but I learned to warm up to it and, like you say, how we brought these other facts to it.
Yeah.
So I do like it a little bit more now, to be honest, but... I remember it just being like the goriest film I'd ever seen at the time. It's just absolutely brutal.
Brutal.
But beautiful at the same time.
But apparently, did you know?
He was ready.
In the script, right, Dr. Chenard's name was actually meant to be Dr. Malahide.
Okay.
And they changed it to Chenard as they basically came up with the name from Christian Bernard, who performed the world's first successful heart transplant.
Oh, okay.
So that was like a little, not an homage, but
nod.
Yeah, because it's medical.
Nice little nod to it.
But there's quite a few bits and pieces.
Nice. So part 3, Hellraiser 3, aka
Hell on Earth.
Hell on Earth. Yeah.
1992. This was. So I saw it earlier. I mentioned it was like 94 when I saw it, but it's not. It's obviously earlier than
Jumped
that.
4 years.
Yeah.
And Clive Barker was back.
No, it wasn't because movies came out later. So it wasn't 94, 95. But yes, Hell on Earth. What do we think of Hellraiser 3?
So I like it. I like all of them.
Yeah.
But this is, not quite as much for me.
This is definitely not the same tone as the first two.
It's a different tone, which I respect and I like. They've moved on from the characters of the first one a little bit, even though they're hinted. Kirsty is seen.
She's still in it,
you see her with like...
it's a flashback.
In the interview tapes. No, she gets the tapes, doesn't she?
Oh, yes, of course,
The investigator gets the journalist
Kirsty,
gets
although Kirsty's not actually.
So Kirsty's out. Who's the protagonist in this one?
Is it Terry?
Joey.
Or Joey. Joey. Terry.
She's Terry Farrell's her real name, but she plays Joey.
She's trying to make her name as a reporter, TV reporter.
She doesn't get the good stories, but she wants a good story. Yeah.
And right at the beginning,
But the actual very beginning of the film, you see JP, who turns out to be the nightclub owner.
Yeah. Oh, the really smug cunt.
Exactly. Yeah, the rich bastard.
Yeah.
Well, and he goes to this shop, and again, there's a homeless guy turns up in it.
Yes, he does.
And he sees the revolving. It was a revolving beam, which is now a statue.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's like called the Pillar of Souls.
Nice.
Yeah. And he says to him, "It's for sale if you want it." And of course, JP likes everything. And
he likes.
And he says,
it's for his club and stuff, isn't it?
He says, "I know you're a collector of weird and wonderful items, kind of thing." And he says to him, "If you want it, you can buy it. It's for sale." So that JP says, "Well, how much is it? How much is it?" So he says, "Well, it's whatever you think it's worth." And he hands him this roll of money. He goes, "Exactly the figure I was thinking of," he says. So now he's got...
I know we're going with this figure. Go.
So he's got the statue, the Pillar of Souls. then it cuts to this Terry woman who's trying to make it as the reporter and isn't getting any of the good stories, and no matter what she
doesn't
does.
he say like something when he takes it, it's like, it was always yours anyway? Or
Yes,
something?
sorry,
It was
yes, you're
always
right.
yours.
It was always
That's
yours
what I was waiting for
anyway.
you to do, yeah.
Sorry, yes, you're right.
So he would have given it to him for free regardless. He'd be
Exactly.
like, it was yours anyway.
It was yours anyway.
Joey
Joey.
Summerskill.
Yeah, she's the reporter, and she hears through her friend Doc. There's something happens at this, and they're all the people end up getting taken to the hospital, and she thinks that if I go down there, I might be able to get in on the story, even though they haven't said for her to go. So she goes down to the hospital, and it's really weird because when she gets there, the corridor that is really dark. There's hardly any light. And all of a sudden, this door bursts open, and this gurney comes in with this guy.
All the nurses around it.
Yeah, they're all running through and running past. He's got all these chains hanging off.
The
of him.
chains are
There's
fucking
blood
hanging
everywhere.
off him. And what happens to her as she steps aside?
One of the chains scratches her on the leg.
Yeah,
and she bleeds.
She's
and
marked.
And they're gone into this operating theatre. And there's a woman.
She has
with
these
him.
visions throughout the film, doesn't
Yes.
she? Yes.
She has visions.
No,
of her
this is not the vision. This is her trying to get a story.
Yeah.
Oh, right, no, I'm thinking
Yeah.
to later on when she sees...
She does have dreams, but
Yeah.
they're not related to that.
Yeah.
No.
They're all related to her father, and apparently something happened to him in Vietnam.
Well,
and he never came home.
He
and
never
she's
came home, and she's dreaming that he's
she's trying
been
to
left
figure out what
behind.
happened to him.
So, yeah.
She has all these weird dreams about her father.
Because obviously she dreams that he was left behind and to die.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the hospital, that's a real victim because I think JP's got somebody else to get the box because they've got the box out of the pillar, haven't
No, it's attached into the box, isn't it?
No,
into the pillar.
It was,
no,
yeah.
in the pillar you have Pinhead and the box and various other bits and people. They're all. It's almost like Han Solo in the
Carbonite.
Carbonite.
Yeah.
They're just part of this statue. And this guy and this girl, the guy manages somehow to take the box, rips the box out of the statue.
Yeah.
So obviously the box is talking to him. Because why would he do otherwise?
Yeah.
So in trying to ripping the box out,
And then the chains have got him.
He's obviously opened it somehow without realising what it is.
No, his ex-girlfriend nabs it, didn't she?
No.
She gives it to Joey.
That's how he ends up with all the chains. He opens the box mistakenly, and the chains grab him. And she calls the ambulances, and they come and get him. And that's what.
And JP's ex, who is Terry.
Yes, that's it.
She's the
She's
girl
at
that's
hospital, and that's how she meets the reporter, Joey.
Yeah.
Because she basically
Takes her back to her place and shows her the box, doesn't she?
Well, no, she said initially she's like, if you want to tell me anything about it,
here's my number. Let me know.
And then she disappears.
Yeah.
Because then the next bit, she's trying to follow up on the story.
She goes to the club, doesn't she?
She's like, I'll go to the club,
Is it Club Hell or something?
No,
or?
Boiler House.
Boiler House.
Boiler House,
Yeah.
that's it, yeah.
So
With
she-
all the fire.
Yes,
Yeah,
and it's got all the weird statues around and stuff,
And
isn't
some
it? Yeah.
metal.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's proper 90s,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
For a,
Hair metal band as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she goes round and she's like leaving her card everywhere.
Yeah.
JP tries to hit on her
Yeah.
in the club because
Yeah.
he's just used to having women.
What does she say?
Because he
to
can
him?
get what he wants, can't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he.
She says she's I'm not your type. Your type seems to be grad students or something, and like in other words, she's too old for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And so she walks away.
And then she gets contacted by Terry,
Yeah.
and Terry ends up coming to
Terry
her house,
sees
her
Terry
apartment.
sees her, doesn't she? Because she's dressed up now and she looks nice. She's got a nice dress on, and she's actually at the club, which is why Joey doesn't recognise her. Because when Joey saw her in the hospital, she looked like a goth.
Yeah.
So she doesn't recognise. So of course Terry phones Joey and says, "Hi, it's me. I hear you're trying to get a hold of me. Whatever. I can tell you about what's happened, but she says my boyfriend stood me up, and I need somewhere to stay for the night. So if you let me come round to your flat, I'll tell you everything you want to know." And that's how that starts.
Yeah.
She ends up round her apartment.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't Joey start seeing Pinhead when he starts
She
offering? He
dreams-
does the thing with Julie, starts giving him bodies and stuff.
Well, she's having dreams, and she suddenly has a dream of World War One.
Yeah.
Where you see
Elliot Spencer,
Captain Elliot Spencer,
who is Pinhead.
Pinhead,
becomes
yeah.
Pinhead. Yeah.
and then she's talking with Terry, and Terry's talking about the Cenobites, and then we cut back to the club where JP hits on some girl, doesn't he? Some blonde girl.
Blonde and big tits.
He ends up back.
He gives her a rose, doesn't he? He's got all these roses
in
the ice cooler, and he gives her a rose, and he's something like, "Oh, you've won this rose. You know, I only give it to the most beautiful of people."
Yeah, which he says every day.
Such a charmer.
Which he says to everyone, and he's got tons of them waiting there.
Yeah.
You know, and he brings her back to the his flat within the club, doesn't he? Behind the locked metal door where all the art is, all his dark art,
all his
and
dark
stuff.
Art, yeah.
And he has sex with her, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's it.
Because she's like tied to the bed as well.
Yeah,
For your S&M fans out there.
Yeah,
exactly.
But the pillar of souls is
behind.
facing him, and it's Pinhead watching him.
Because the eyes open, don't they?
The eyes open,
and he's looking, and he's watching them.
Yeah,
and then she wakes up the next, or whenever they
later on, isn't it?
And she's walking around asking him about the pillar and the art and stuff, isn't she? And he just basically is like, I don't fucking care what you're saying. You're not interested to me. I'm going to give another rose.
I've got what I wanted out. You fuck off.
He says, "Give me my shirt back." And fuck off, sort of.
He's like, I'll give another rose to another girl tomorrow night. And she's like, you bastard, and then the chains come out and get this
out of his mouth, isn't it?
Out of Hellraiser in the pillar. The chains come out and grab her, hook her, and she's dragged. Her flesh is dragged off.
Yes,
she's like like a fleshy,
like a flesh, isn't it?
Flayed person again, and then she gets sucked into the statue.
She levitates first, doesn't she?
Yeah. And then goes in sideways.
That was weird.
And Jesus Christ!
To see her levitated, and then she's literally
she's levitated on the chains, isn't she?
She's fed into the mouth of the statue, sort of thing. And he's watching this, and he's going, "What?"
He's like, "Oh my god!" He tries to shoot him.
It goes, "Jesus Christ!" He's like, "Not quite."
Not quite. And then he tries to. JP tries to shoot the pillar, doesn't he?
He spits him out, doesn't he? He spits out the bullets.
Spits out the
three bullets. But this is what I quite like about this film.
Yeah.
Is you then get the devil's sort of like talk to him, don't you?
Yep.
I need to try and find some of the lines from this.
But then again, it's the same as Frank and Julia. I need more. Give me more, isn't it?
It is the same sort of thing, but he knows him. Yeah. So he immediately starts. He knows people. He says like, "Oh, JP. Is that the gun you used to kill your parents? Yeah, their fortune was so desirable and their appreciation so unattainable, or attached with strings and things like this.
So obviously,
he obviously knows
the desire.
It's that
is there. So and then it's like what Pinhead says. It's not the hands that summon us; it's the desire.
And he sees in JP the kind of person.
Yeah,
because he's like, you took what you wanted from that woman, so did I, because he wanted the blood from her. And he wanted his pleasure with the woman. Yeah. So he's like, you're the right kind of person.
You and me can work together.
And he says the dark desires and the pleasures. So he basically does that temptation, isn't it? That I was talking about right at the beginning of when we, our episode.
Yeah.
So he's tempting him. So that's what I quite like, because it's that devil's temptation for him. Because he's trapped in the pillar. Yes.
But I've just remembered a bit, because he sees the hole in the pillar left from when the box was taken out. And for some strange reason, he puts his hand in the hole, and there's a rat in there bites him.
Back to the rats again.
Yep. And as he's shaking his hand with the rat attaching,
that's how the blood goes on it. And activates, isn't it?
That's how he's able to open his eyes and watch him having sex.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I've just remembered that bit.
So then, basically, Pinhead's like, he wants him to bring more. So we're repeating the theme of consuming other people. And
where it was Frank and Julia, and then it was Julia and Dr. Chenard. Now it's Pinhead and JP. Yeah.
And so JP rings up Terry, doesn't he?
That's it, yeah.
And she's on her own. She's just found out that...
I just remember this scene as well. Yeah, go carry on.
Just remembered that she's just found out that... Joey's got a job and she's going to move, because she was like, I really like this place. She'd been told she could stay there.
Yeah, she can stay as long as
Joey. They're like having friend. They've developed a friendship. Yeah, and then she's like, oh no, I'm being abandoned again.
Yeah, our friend Doc rings up and leaves a message on the answer phone, doesn't he? That job's come up in Monterey. It's yours. Yeah. If I were you, I'd go for it, sort of thing.
So she goes back to JP, doesn't she?
Yes.
Oh, we missed out a bit, that they both tried to break into the store where the pillar was.
And they find all the paperwork from the Chenard Institute.
Yeah, and it's been shut.
Yeah.
Some random person walking dog's like, no, that place has been shut for 20 years.
Yeah. So, she goes, no, it's not. My friend bought a piece of art from you.
Yeah,
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
So anyway,
It was always yours.
so she goes back to JP, doesn't she, Terry? And he's like doing his charm again. He's like, no,
But he's
I really
trying to
love you. He's trying to
get-
get her near to the pillar, isn't
Yes.
he?
Yeah.
So he walks around the pillar, and he's trying to tempt her, and he's like, no, I'm here for you now. You're the most, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he goes, come to daddy, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
Little call back there.
Yep, from Frank. Yep.
And then,
And
she
it doesn't happen though.
Well,
It's
he's
right.
trying to get her close, and she hits him, doesn't she?
That's
right.
Knocks him out.
Yeah.
And then that's where
Pinhead.
she pushes him to the.
Well, no, Pinhead wakes up first.
Yeah.
She runs away, and as she's about to open the door,
She can't open the door; it's locked.
No,
Yes.
and Pinhead says to her, "Wait!"
Yeah.
And he says, "What does he say to her? Something about you have desires or dreams
Again-
or something." And
it's
Again, it's the whole devil's advocate sort of thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like I'm trying
I can
to
help you. I can give you
Well, no,
these
he
things.
sort of says there are two keys in this room.
That's right, yes.
One is on him. and
Sounds
will
like a Saw movie, doesn't it?
We'll,
Yeah.
It's a bit Matrix as well.
Yeah.
One will open the door and let you out to your humdrum life where you
And
run.
one is lying on the floor covered in blood.
and
in other words, which is him.
One is with me, where you will explore and
Yeah.
become basically tempting her, and she gives in, doesn't she?
She does.
She feeds JP to him.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's no.
Yeah, he
And-
wakes up at the last minute, doesn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah.
And there's a really good scene where the pillar, where the pillar sort of like comes to flesh, doesn't it?
So this is the part where it comes apart now, and he actually gets revealed,
So
doesn't it?
It's a really body horror.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it all comes into like chunks of flesh and falls to the floor, and
there's
light
a bit of
shining
smoke
through the
and lights.
holes, and like a
And then there's that
bright light.
reveal.
And then it cuts back to it, and it's just Pinhead there,
And he's standing there with
with
his arm
hand. Yeah,
reaching out
such
to
a
her,
good shot.
and Doug
Yeah.
Bradley
Yeah.
as good as always.
Yeah.
Such a good shot.
Such a good shot.
So that's how he gets out of the statue. But now he's after the box now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, because whilst that is happening,
Joey hears
Joey
a voice
is-
on the
no.
radio, doesn't she?
yeah, she hears it. Well, she's dreaming because she sees an old-fashioned radio.
Yeah. And it's
She's
playing.
tuning it.
It's like playing like old-fashioned
Yeah.
music from round the First World War time.
Yeah, and then she's dreaming, and she's dreaming about her father being left by the helicopter.
But didn't she? She's twiddling.
She's twiddling the dial,
She's like
and she
tuning
hears-
it, and all of a sudden she hears
Captain
Doug Bradley, Pinhead's voice.
Well, she hears the Captain Elliot
But of course, he's Captain Elliot Spencer at the time.
Spencer. And then she dreams, and she's in the battlefield at night in World War One again.
Yeah.
And we learn that that Captain Elliot was obviously a captain in World War One.
Yeah.
And he was able to come into her dreams because he was his spirit, his human spirit, was freed by Becky in the first one. Kirsty, in the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Second
Okay,
one.
so yeah.
So when he's killed as a man,
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's sort of released his human spirit again.
right. Okay.
And
So
he
it makes sense
says-
now, doesn't it?
because he's talking to her on the battlefield in World War One,
Yeah.
and he says, basically, "This is me. I was able to come into your dreams because you were dreaming of your father, and it links to my battlefield kind of thing."
Right.
So there's a weird little bit there where he can talk to her in his dreams, but he says the shell of my evil, of what he was, still exists in your world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Bring
two
him,
parts.
bring him to me, basically.
So even though
Isn't
I've
it?
left
Yeah.
it, it's still
Well,
there.
he's been split.
Yeah.
You've got his soul is released from it.
That's right. Yeah.
But the evil that was in him,
Yeah.
the bit that was searching
He's
for the box
is Pinhead.
and wanted to find more pleasure and explore further reaches and stuff like that, that evil is still in the world, in our world, as Pinhead.
Yeah.
So now we've got them, he tells her you need to bring Pinhead
he says-
through
Yeah.
the window in her apartment into his realm where he has the
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
Dr. Elliot, Captain.
Then,
We got the club scene now,
yeah,
like the
they're in the,
over the top violent
Oh
club
my-
scene.
My God, yes, he appears in the club, and he starts shooting.
See, this
like,
is where it
spears.
goes a bit on one off now because
And then he locks the
you've
doors.
got
and all
the
these people
tone
are
of the
trapped
other
in
two
there.
where it's like secluded area in hell, whatnot. Now all of a sudden he's just walking in a club killing people.
Well, I think there might be more to this because he says even in hell there are rules. This is Elliot.
Yes. Yeah.
The captain is talking to
Yeah.
Joey. Even in hell there are rules.
Yeah.
which kind of makes you think that the Cenobites are following their rules, presumably set by Leviathan, their god. And those rules are they can't come unless they've been summoned by the box. They are coming for the person who desires. Yeah. So they're bound by those rules.
Yeah,
which I would argue, because they've been killed and split, and he's not a true Cenobite anymore. So you've got and they're in this world rather than being. I'd argue that this pinhead that's come out of the pillar, who is all the bad, is basically not being controlled by Leviathan anymore. He's just acting as an evil.
And there's no good in him.
No. Well, no, I think it's more like...
Do you think it's because he's like disconnected from
I think he's disconnected from hell,
Yeah.
and he's not a Cenobite. He's just trying to rebuild himself.
Yeah.
Much like...
Because the human host isn't there anymore either, is it?
He's trying to put his team together.
I think it's much like Frank.
Yeah.
So rather than being a true Cenobite, Pinhead in this one is like Frank.
Okay.
So he's tried to rebuild himself to escape hell and come into our world to do what he wants in our world.
Yeah.
He's not being bound by the rules of Leviathan.
Right. Yeah, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have a really gory...
No, you're quite right.
Because he wouldn't have killed people, the proper Pinhead wouldn't have, the Cenobite Pinhead wouldn't have come and killed all those people because they haven't called him.
Yeah.
But yeah, doesn't all the stuff in the club come to life and stuff? All the bits of art or something, and death by CDs and whatnot.
He locks the door so no one can get out, and all you see is blood come out from under the door and then screams. They're all screaming.
I remember when one of the chains comes and the bloke catches it, and you see it ripping into his head. And
then the DJ, the CDs go flying and stick in
his head.
There's you see things happen to a couple of people, and then, like I said, the doors lock, and all you hear are screams, and then you see blood. So you don't see what happens to everybody.
No.
But then the weird thing is this. Joey is at home and she sees an article on the TV about there's people we think they've been killed and everybody's done this club downtown and whatever, and so she thinks, shit, I could have a story here. So she gets together and she runs down to go to it, but then the camera pans back to the TV and it's not plugged in.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you're right.
The plug is on the ground.
Lured there.
So it's like, really? Because then when she gets there...
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
She gets there, but there's no police cars. There's no TV cameras.
Doesn't she call her own Doc, the camera guy, doesn't she?
She calls him, tells him, and he says, I'll meet you there. And when she goes there, she sees his car, but he's not in the car because he'd gone into the club, and now he's one of the Cenobites.
With the camera.
He's the cameraman, Cenobite.
Yeah.
And then you've got the DJ who becomes
the DJ becomes one, doesn't he? Yeah.
CD Cenobite. Yeah. And it's just
so ridiculous.
Before Spotify Cenobite.
Yeah. And then of course, like I say, Joey's in the.
Doesn't Joey become one?
No.
She's
trying to get away.
No, JP. Does he become one?
Yeah, he's the one with the gears.
The rods.
That's it. That's the rods. That's the one. That's it. That's what I'm thinking of.
Engine parts and that sort of thing. And then Terry, the girl.
Terry does definitely
is the new Deep Throat.
That's it.
Yeah, with her
that's right.
And stuff. She's the new Deep Throat. And then of course Joey escapes the club, and now they go after her. Basically, they come out of the club after her, and while she's running down the street, there's cars blowing up and things coming on fire and
the manhole popping off.
That, like I said, the manhole cover flies up because there's a burst of fire out of the sewer, and she ducks from the manhole cover and it hits a sign that says Larry's. And I thought, well, hang on, Kirsty's dad was called Larry in the first film, so to me, there's a little nod back to the first one there. Plus, like you say about Frank, there's that once or twice where he's gone, where the character's gone, come to daddy, and you think, well, that's Frank, Then there's the cameraman.
But then there's the paperwork from Chenard's.
Yeah,
there's obviously nice little nods.
All these little nods.
It's all linked back.
All three are linked. Like I said, there's links to all three of them there. And then then there's the passerby. She runs past this guy, and the camera guy gets him, and he punches a hole through his head with the camera. And he's like,
that's
looks
extreme
through,
close up.
Yeah, he looks
ready for your close up.
I was just going to say, he looks through the hole in the head to Kirsty. And he says, "Are you ready for your close-up?" And I think,
this is when it gets a bit comedic now, isn't it? The horror's not exactly there as much. The gore's there, obviously.
And then there's another passerby, and the CD bloke starts like his chest like opens up like a CD drawer, and his CD flies out and hits the guy in the head and kills him.
Stupid.
It starts getting a bit silly, and then of course the police turn up. Well, 2 cars, and one of them's got like that's that JP. No, it's not JP. This other guy, he's got a bottle in a hand and he spits flames. So is he like maybe a bartender or something?
Yeah,
maybe?
I think he's just And
he ends up throwing the bottle at them and it breaks, and the girl goes, "Oh my God, it's gasoline!" And then of course he spits fire and he kills them. So
you're getting the gore, but
it's starting to get it's getting a bit silly now.
So the horror element's kind of going, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it goes back.
When's
to
the
Pinhead.
church thing?
That's where she runs next. She runs into the church, and there's a priest is there, and she runs up to the priest, and she goes, "You've got to help me. There's the demons are coming." And he goes like, "There's no such thing as demons." And Pinhead walks in the door, and you just see this big light behind him, and he's like strides through the door, and she goes, "What the fuck's that then?
And what the fuck do you call that then?"
Something like that. And then he goes, and he walks past. He goes up to the altar, and he takes these like. The nails, 2 nails out of his head, and puts 1 in each hand,
like the stigmata, isn't
exactly. And then he stands there, and he imitates the pose of Christ.
I am the way.
Yes, that's what he does. Yeah, and
then the candles go.
Yeah, and
that's a good shot, isn't it?
The stained glass windows the stained glass windows explode,
smashing everything. Good shot, good scene.
It was quite a good scene.
But then she gets him. I swear they merged together at the end or something, didn't they? Him and Mr. Spencer.
She manages to get him. She lures. He takes the box. She had what she thinks is another dream, and she sees her father running towards her. And she's going, "Oh, Dad, Daddy, and they have a big hug. And then you can just tell in his eyes there was this flicker in the eyes. I thought that ain't no Dad.
No.
And then she like looks at him and realizes that it's Pinhead.
Going back to what I was saying about number 2, when you see Frank, that's what I thought was going to happen in number 2. When you saw Frank, I think this is too good to be true.
Yeah, but this isn't.
Why is he back?
This wasn't the skin. He just manifested as her father in her dreams, and he takes the box. And Elliot or Pinhead had said, Elliot had said to her, "Don't give him the box." So of course, when he takes the box from her, you're like, "No, fucking!" He said, "Don't take the box."
Yeah, because he wants to destroy him.
He wants to destroy him. He has to. He basically says to her, lead him to you with the box. He will want the box. Don't give him the box. Lure him through the box to my realm, and I can defeat him, sort of thing. Which he ends up doing anyway.
Yeah.
But when Pinhead takes the box, you're like, no, you're not supposed to have the box. But it's quite a good little scene, that bit. So what else we got? We got
we get to
grabs Pinhead. Yeah.
Then they blend together and they twist and merge or something. It's like it's a mixture of the whole CGI and practical effects sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. She hands him the box and he turns into Pinhead, and then Elliot appears and they're now in his realm.
Yes.
And what was he says something to him. Like you're in my realm now or something.
You're in my realm, bitch.
Hang on, I'm going to see if I can find
Scary Terry.
It's the part I don't remember. I literally remember this part where their heads like locked together or something. I don't really remember the rest.
Let me see.
But we're right near the end now.
We're right near the end anyway. Yeah. But what happens at is there a cliffhanger at the end? I don't remember if they like in the other 2.
I don't think there was a cliffhanger at the end of it.
Does it end there?
Yes. She anyway. Pinhead and Elliot merge, and allegedly they disappear. So you're led then to think that
Pinhead's sort of back, isn't he? Yeah.
No, he's gone. You think they're gone. They've gone wherever, gone back to hell. So he's now not in our world, shall we say. And as she's running away, she comes across a building site, and she sees all this fresh concrete. So she decides to bury the box in the concrete. So she shoves her hand with the box down into the concrete and leaves it there. And then she walks away, and the camera is panning down at the concrete, and then it gradually becomes like a patio or a walkway or something. And then the camera pans up, and it's a building, front of a building, and these people are walking toward the building with briefcases and stuff. And when they go through the revolving doors into the building, the camera like follows them, and the inside of the building is basically the box. It's all like the walls are carved like the outside of the box. So it's like, how the bloody hell, if the box was in the, it's just, it leaves you to think,
okay,
cursed ground.
Yes, cursed ground. Yeah,
and that's how it ends.
That's how it ends. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. See, I don't remember the ending very well much on that one. Yeah. Any facts on number 3, John?
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes.
Hang on.
Did you know? Yeah. There's a scene while I believe it's Terry flicking through the channels on the TV, and very, very briefly, the director of the film appears.
Okay.
And he's gone. He's literally gone.
Right.
And in the scenes where she dreams about her father being left in Vietnam, he's with a group of soldiers.
Yeah, they're all dead, aren't they?
And they're all getting killed one by one. This helicopter's trying to rescue them, but realizes we can't get them, and they fly away. And she's like, come back. He's still alive, you know. Well, two of the soldiers are the director and his brother.
Okay.
Well, you would put yourself in there, wouldn't you?
Then I said about the manhole cover hitting the sign that
hitting
says
Larry's,
what else? I'm sure I got something else. Where is it? Hang on.
That sort of ends the trilogy, though, really, doesn't it? And then number 4 goes way over the top.
I was going to say they all go a bit silly.
Apparently, Peter Jackson was asked to direct the film.
Oh, okay.
Imagine what that would have been.
And it says
like.
while he entertained the notion, he ultimately turned it down as an opportunity. He turned down the opportunity as at the time he mainly worked on broad comedic horror and felt he would not be a good fit for the material.
He went comedic at the end anyway, so it didn't make a difference.
The third one did, yeah.
But yeah. So that was the end of that trilogy. And obviously, we got Bloodline in 96, which went to space, I believe. Have you seen it? I've not seen it. No. But that's the one that sort of stops like people wanting to go and watch these movies now. And then we got a couple others. Hellraiser Inferno was in 2000. Hellraiser Hellworld was 2005. Which I believe was the last time Doug Bradley was Pinhead in the franchise. We had Hellraiser Judgment in 2018.
Yep.
And then obviously 2022, which is the one we're going to talk about last year's.
The other ones.
Is there other ones? There must be straight to TV ones.
You got Hellraiser Bloodline, Hellraiser Deader, Hellraiser Hellseeker, Hellraiser Hellworld, Hellraiser Judgment, Hellraiser Revelations.
Revelations, yeah.
And
so there was a few.
They did a couple that were sort of, I think Revelations was one.
Yeah, including the latest one, 2022. There's 11.
But 2022, yeah. So here we go.
Let's just talk about that quickly without going into too much detail, because that's a reboot, isn't it?
Yeah. So we won't go too much quickly, but yeah. So they've wanted to remake Hellraiser for fucking ages, haven't they? So many people have been attached to it. So many other people, producers, whatnot. And then finally, Disney, who used Hulu as a studio, just went, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, reboot
but this time, Pinhead's a woman now.
Yeah.
Or she's in the credits, she's known as the priest, not Pinhead.
Yeah.
So Jamie Clayton plays her. I don't know what she was like in other movies and whatnot, but let's go with, what did you think of her as the priest?
I liked her.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, she's not going to stand up to Doug Bradley, is she, at the end of the day?
But it's a reboot, so I'm quite happy that they've tried different things to make it stand apart, because they weren't getting anywhere with like making the other ones, were they?
Exactly, yeah.
With Doug Bradley, as much as I like those ones, he's got a lot older since then, and I'm quite happy for the reboot.
Yeah.
And when we watched this, because then we watched this together.
We did, yeah. Watched it mine, yeah.
Like I say,
if it was at the cinema, I'd obviously love to go and see it at the cinema.
Yeah, but it was just on Hulu, wasn't it?
It's a streaming movie, wasn't it?
It took ages before it actually came out over here, didn't it? Which annoyed me as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was a really good film.
It is, isn't it? I was about to say, did you really like it?
I really liked it, yeah. So, yeah, we won't do a blow-by-blow like we've done with the other ones.
We'll just go into little bits because it's quite new and people can still go watch it.
Yeah, and we don't want to spoil that dramatically.
Let's just talk about your likes and don't likes about it.
Yeah, so what I really liked about this one is they took a lot of the elements that made the first three particularly very good, and they just did it. They sort of refreshed it. So if in the first, so things that I really liked about it, I do like the redesigns they've done on the Cenobites.
Yes, so the black's kind of gone now, isn't it?
The sort of more bondage-y inspired like black outfits have gone, and they've been replaced by like skin.
Like it's their own flesh, isn't it? That makes their clothes.
It's been made into clothes. So you've got like like stretched skin and then patches of flayed skin. So like red raw open things. Very stylistically done. And you've got the whole new raft of like newer Cenobites, haven't you?
Yes.
And they're not the cheesy ones that we were just talking about at the thing. These are some good ones.
There's one that kind of returns.
There is, yeah. So as a callback, I think. We'll talk about him in a sec. But with the new ones, I like the new female Pinhead because it's it's a reboot, and I think
her presence
she did a good job.
Good enough, isn't
the
it?
voice is good again. They've tweaked the voice to make it a little bit deep in timbre again, haven't they? So that I really liked. You've got another female one, haven't you? Who's like
she's like the one that controls the wires and stuff, isn't it?
She looks like almost like a nun going back to religion, doesn't she?
Yes, you're right.
She's almost got that little like the headwear that nuns wear, but it's her own flesh. Yeah, and she's got her throat cut open again.
Yeah. We got the one that's sort of tied up, isn't he? Well,
he's. I'm gonna have to find out what they're called. So yeah, it's like the flesh has all gone over. Hands are pinned into like a prayer, supplication-like sort of form. So I like, again, the blending of the dark sort of religion into it. But he's got like flesh covering his head. He's like wheezing, isn't he?
That's right. He's like trying to breathe, isn't it? Yeah. But obviously skin's over his face, isn't it?
And that's such a good sound. You know, we were talking earlier about the sounds, things like that. That was so good.
The way he's walking around, because all he can do is hear you.
Yeah.
So you have to be proper quiet around him.
Yeah. And you've got the... callback is the Chatterer, isn't it, again?
Yes, yeah.
From
kind of a new design, isn't it? But still worthy.
Yeah, it's a newer design on him, but I think he was put in for like us, the fans of the original.
You had to have one come back at some point, but he's, like you said, apart from Deep Throat, he's the most noticeable, isn't he?
He is, I would say, one of the most noticeable.
But there's a scene where, not spoilering, they capture one of the kids that's running away, and she goes into their hell, if you will, sort of thing. It's still reminiscent of the labyrinth from number 2, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Still the dark blue, dank corridor sort of look to it, isn't it?
And what it does, not that I appreciated, is it shows like the walls opening again, or the floor opening up, and it shows the labyrinth through. There's a really good shot in it. Where they're in the back of a van, and the driver looks in the rear view mirror, and the back of the van has gone. Yeah. So it's like a long corridor, isn't it? With and you see the Cenobites with the person in the back. That's
I kind of liked it.
So
because
I like they've done that to throw back.
I like the thing, like I said, with the van, because it just goes to show that even though as much as you run away, there is no escape. No, they are going to get you regardless if you call them. But the calling in this one is a little bit different, isn't it? It's not just solving the box now, is it? They put their own little twist in it. You have to get cut by the box.
I was just going to move on to that. The other thing that I really liked from a design stylistic point of view was originally when they came, the Cenobites, you had the lines like through the slats in the stud, sort of the
light would go,
and the light would go up. So you had like bars of bluey white light.
That's right.
That moved down on the wall. Yeah, this one it was like the reflection off water. Do you remember?
Yes, you're right.
So it was like like if sunlight's shining on water and it's reflecting on the underside of a bridge. So I like that because it's a new design, but it's still
sort of using the same as last time.
Thing to link into the original. And what I particularly like, without going into too much spoilers about this, what I really liked about this remake was that they explored the lore a bit more on it again. Yeah. So you sort of go into how there are 6 configurations of the box. So the original box that we're used to is like the lament configuration.
Yeah, John mentioned earlier, yeah.
Have you got them all to hand?
I've got them here if you want.
Go on then, go for it. He's got them prepared. Because basically
each one means a different thing,
Each one means a different thing. So
lament is... What do you reckon?
Life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Law, knowledge.
Knowledge, yeah.
Laudrant.
What do you call it?
What's that?
Love.
Love. Oh, love. Okay.
Liminal.
Is that sensation?
It is. Well done. Lazarus.
Life.
No.
Or resurrection.
Well done.
Yeah.
And Leviathan.
Is God, isn't it?
Power.
Power, yeah.
Yeah.
So every time you change the configuration, it tries to cut you in this new reboot, which I quite like because you're giving your intention to solve it, but it's taking its blood from you, and then that calls the Cenobites to claim.
It's kind of like you mentioned with 3. It's like when you said the chain got her, and it's like she's marked.
Yeah.
That's what this box does now, doesn't it?
This box does now, yeah. And you've got some really nice visual looks on the box. But basically, the sort of lore to this now is it's not just it enhances that you're seeking something. So when you can complete all of the configurations, call the Cenobites, you've made all the sacrifices. If you're the really rich bastard who's sacrificing people to the box, to the Cenobites to get what you want, your payoff, you can choose the configuration for what you want at the end.
It's your reward, isn't it, at the end?
It's your reward. So you can choose love, you can choose life or resurrection, you can choose knowledge, you can choose power with like the Leviathan. So I really liked that aspect of it. And the story, like I say, is quite good in it, and it weaves that into it. So like I say, with the new designs, you've got
it wasn't a carbon copy of any of the others. They had their own story to it and everything, wasn't it? So
that's why I really liked.
Yeah, it was in my top 10 of last year. I really, really liked this movie. Did you have any doubts about it at all? Anything you wasn't too fond of or anything? Or
not that really jumps out at me.
No,
I enjoyed it.
What about you, John? Liked it?
I liked it. Yeah,
I like it.
I know. I know you've probably discussed this already. But I like because I was always thinking, well, how are they going to bring, Pinhead back as a woman?
I was about to say, how did you feel about Jamie Clayton? Do you think he played a good part?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. When I first heard that they're going to reboot Hellraiser, I was like, yeah. Now, if there's a film that could do with being rebooted and made better, in fact, because it was good, but if you want to make it even better, then I thought Hellraiser would be a good one. Then when I found out there was a woman going to play it, I don't mean to upset any of the guests, but we've had lots of films that have been redone and they've cast women as them and they've never done any good. And so I was a bit pissed off when I first heard, because I thought, here we go, great franchise, and they're going to ruin it. Yeah. So, but I was intrigued to see it because I thought, well, no, you've got to give all these films their due, which I have done, and so I watched it and I was like, do you know what? That was actually very, very good. I was impressed with it.
Yeah. And one more Cenobite we've got to mention was the one where the arms come apart.
Oh, yeah.
That one's a cool one as well. My downside with this, the only downside to it, this is just a little nitpick at the end of the day, but I've got to mention it. So, gore is a main factor with Hellraiser films.
Yeah.
I felt there's a couple of scenes in this where it might have been time constriction or budget-wise maybe, where a couple of characters were killed off, but you never really saw them being killed off.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
Like
killed off screen.
Yeah, so just a little spoiler: the main protagonist's brother gets killed earlier on in the film, but you just don't see anything. He literally just disappears. Like the doors open to see Cenobites are coming, and the next minute she walks in and he's just disappeared. Well, I just felt it was a bit cheap, really, for a Hellraiser movie because you kind of expect a little bit of gore, blood splatter, whatnot. Which there was a fair amount towards the end, don't get me wrong, but I just felt, that was just probably one of my little downsides to it. Whatnot. But highly recommend it. Give it a go if you're a Hellraiser fan.
One thing I just wanted to
go for it,
before we finish.
Yeah, go for it.
And this is going to be a big spoiler.
Okay. Hang on, let me find the spoiler sound.
Just skip forward like a little
very
bit.
Very quickly.
Spoiler warning.
There you go. You've been warned, guys.
You've been warned. Right at the end, we talked about it previously, didn't we? Where Voight gets brought up by massive chain, doesn't
Voight's the big bad boss man, isn't
he? The big bad rich guy who's been
that's it.
Who's been trying to complete it a second time.
Yes.
He gets brought back up, doesn't he? And he gets turned into a Cenobite.
Yes, that's right. At the very end, isn't it?
And it's weird because he's in like a cross position, so it links back to the religion again of crucifixion. And it's all that white light, isn't it? So we've got almost like a heavenly scene. I just thought that was a bit of a nice change on it because it's almost like you'd think bright white light, that would be good.
Yeah, because like you said, the Cenobites are all very white now, aren't they? So is it matching their sort of style
but it's just
now, isn't it?
It's like a weird, almost like rapture, where someone is being ascended to heaven.
Yeah.
But it's turning him in, it's ripping his flesh off, turning him into a Cenobite. I like that.
Yeah, it's good. I really do hope they continue it. I mean, I thought the director did a good enough job.
Again.
I'd like to see more if they do, and bring Jamie Clayton back. Which she played a really good part. Especially when she done the one line, "We have such sights to show you." It's like nice little nods, nice little callback. But yeah, that's it. I think. Anything else to sound that? John, you got anything on that? No,
not really. No, because I only did the first 3. Because I thought I didn't realise we were going to do the second one.
But you have seen the new one. You watched it with us the other day.
Yeah. I mean, they're a great franchise. We could talk for ages about bits and pieces, but
can't make it too long. People get bored.
Yeah, but having watched 1, 2, and 3, I kind of want to watch the new one again. So I'm going to look for it on Prime.
Yeah, do it again, mate. So yeah, that's the first episode of Spooktacular this year.
Yes.
Guys, thank you for doing that. It was really good. I actually really enjoyed that. Hope you like what you listen to, guys. Obviously, if you like what you listen to, follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B Podcast, on Instagram at M.T.V.B Podcast, or on TikTok on M.T.V.B Podcast 197. I am Matt Man, joined by
JK47
and Dave,
saying goodbye from Spooktacular.
I have such sights to show you.
Good night, guys.